In progress.
We'll work on it. I'll repeat my whatever. I'll repeat
In
whatever numbers I need
progress.
to.
You're in
But
show.
but yeah,
Glitch. Todd is talking about his number 10, which is Ricky Starks versus Brian Danielson all out.
yeah, strap
If you
match.
want the spiel, go look at the old video that's streaming live on Twitter or streamed live on
Anyway,
Twitter.
I will eventually get to finish this entry. But yeah, it was just a really fun match. No one was expecting it to be this good, but it totally was. It was awesome seeing it live. And once again, Danielson proving why he is easily one of the best wrestlers in the world, if not the best, and definitely one of the best wrestlers of 2024. Because he came off an injury and did this match with like no prep time, but he acted like Batman. He acted like Batman that night, and it was great. So yeah, that's my number 10.
All right, easy.
All right, so for my number 10, while honestly the match itself was actually as amazing and well built up as it was, I still remember just laughing way too hard at how it finished. And that was Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania.
Oh no, it's the best match because it showed that piece of shit Cody doesn't deserve after what he did to AEW.
Okay, regardless of the AEW stuff, and who knows, maybe we might be laughed at by the end of 2024, but who knows? Who cares? Yeah. But this match, it was seriously well built up. Like, regardless of the fact that Cody left AEW, I'm at the point where it's like, I just don't care anymore. You left, goodbye. You're the weakest link. Bye-bye. Okay, not the weakest link, but just for reference anyways. But this whole match was pretty good. Like, even though I didn't really give two shits about Mania at the slightest, because I'm just like, well, I have other stuff I like to balance as well. But anyhow, I did watch this match because, I am intrigued. Maybe this was going to be the night that Cody finished the story. Maybe this was indeed going to be the complete fall of the Bloodline, because night one earlier, which I'll talk to you about later, we saw a certain tag team lose their championship belts to a bunch of Quebecois Canadians. But anyhow, I just remember with like Roman winning, and literally all I could do was burst into laughter. And it isn't because Cody didn't win, but it was more of a direct laughter to the entirety of the IWC for thinking Cody's gonna end the streak, Cody's gonna win, he's gonna finish the story. Fuck you, AEW. He's like, yeah, no. I'm like,
to be fair, I think there's probably as many people in the IWC that were like pumping their fists, going, "Shouldn't have left the best. Shouldn't have left the best. They showed you. Should have just stayed."
But then it's also like, but then there's also a fault with WWE as to, okay, you built this up to nothing. Like, what? I get it. It was. I don't know. I from my opinion, it was just maybe one of the funniest like endings in my opinion.
It was a good match until the ending. It was a reminder of old WWE. Good match until the ending. And then also
a slight, I didn't make honorable mentions, but also another slight honorable mention to SummerSlam between Reigns and Jey Uso, where you thought maybe Jey was actually going to end it, but no. Then they make a swerve that Jimmy backstabs his brother again, and I'm like, what is going on here?
That one that one I like because
that was a terrible ending. This one is just.
I like that
one. The whole match was horrible.
I thought it was a good match. I like that match. It's not an honorable mention, but like I enjoyed it enough. I don't go with the. I don't follow the I don't follow the IWC crowd and hating it. I'll put it to you that way.
Yeah, but no, Roman Cody again, great match, just dumb ending. Whereas Roman and Jey was great match, shitty ending.
For me, when I went and watched Roman Cody, I was just like, in my opinion, there was no win scenario, because if they gave it to Cody, then it's like, oh yeah, he was really skyrocketed to the top slot. Just
and especially the fact that
hold on, because he stole from AEW. But if they lost, then
or he was like, or he's just popular with the fans. I mean, that's
still,
part of it.
After 7 years, come on. But and they're like, well, but if Roman wins, then yeah, great, he just continues Roman's reign. But then they did the worst thing. It had him get the backup, lose the backup, and then the banned person comes back and screws him out of it. I'm just like, wow, you just really like shooting yourselves through the foot. And then Triple H with the whole, there is no end to the storyline. Like that just killed me as a writer because I'm like, yeah, there is. That's why it's called a bookend. And he's starting the next book.
All I'm gonna say,
It's also
Todd,
called
is
an end game.
you don't have an invalid feeling there, but I'm gonna remember this because I think there's another match coming up that I'm gonna go, hey, remember what you just said?
I'll remember that. Go ahead.
Okay.
Throw it in my face if you need to.
Remember.
I'm not trying to throw it in your face. I'm just gonna. It's gonna be a talking point. It's gonna be a talking point. All right. Anything else you want to add, Easy?
No, that's it. Actually, one last thing, especially with all this build-up, is you have WrestleMania back in quote-unquote Hollywood, although Inglewood doesn't really count, but they're back in the Los Angeles area where, this is where the stars shine and all that. And you think, this would be the perfect storybook ending for Cody, which it was not. But regardless, though, that was still a good match. Putting all the other drama shit aside, that was a great match.
It was.
It's good enough for 10.
All right, so my 10 is a tie because it's my list and I can do what I want.
There you go.
Do what you want.
So there's 2 matches on there. One of them was kind of like, because I kind of like started putting the list together with, a few weeks left to go in December, thinking like, nothing's gonna come along, and then a match came along, and I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to bump this out of 10, and even on my honorable mentions, I have like some star where I'm like, if we were doing like a 20 list, here would be the ones that'd be part of the 20 list. But anyway, so the first match we want to talk about was the one that was on the 10 spot, and then the next match is the match that came after that. My number 10 is Masato Tanaka versus Gary Jay from St. Louis Anarchy Pro Wrestling Canvas of Dreams. It's a match that I know a lot of people probably haven't seen. It is on YouTube, so you can go check it out. It's a St. Louis indie. It's on YouTube. It's on independentwrestling.tv. It's available, but I know that the world at large doesn't live in St. Louis, so therefore they're probably not watching St. Louis area indies, even though they should because they're amazing. This was just a fun night of action, and then I go to the show. I've been supporting St. Louis Anarchy, previously known as LWA, for 16 years at this point. Been supporting Gary Jay. Been enjoying him for 16 years wrestling in this area. He's great. He should be on TV right now. That's how great he is. But yeah, I was happy for him. We were all came out in big support for him wrestling this, legend from Japan and ECW. Cool to see Masato Tanaka in person. Just awesome. Crowd was great. Crowd was into it, especially during Gary's entrance. It gave me like it was almost like the Cody at All In goosebumps. That's what I got from the entrance of when Gary Jay was getting to have a match of this magnitude. And it was a great match. It's not one that, like I said, the world at large has seen. It's available. If my recommendation here can help change that, go check it out. And the one that made me go, oh no, here's another great match late in the year, is Gunther versus The Miz from the December 18th episode of Monday Night Raw.
Oh my gosh, you did not. Oh my gosh.
And no. What's wrong with this? Please.
No, please, just go ahead. We got a long list. Go ahead, please.
No, go ahead. Okay, this was a great match.
It's gonna be a long show, so you might as well say it.
Yeah. I want to know why this is wrong.
There were so many better Walter matches than this.
Well, first of all, he's not Walter anymore, so
Walter.
He's carved out as good of a legacy for himself as Gunther as he did when he was Walter. Okay.
Walter Gunther, let's just go with that.
Yeah. And one half of the tag team champions is William Morrissey. Anyway, this was an amazing match. Showed that people that hate on The Miz just like to get their rocks off by hating The Miz because it's cool to hate him on the internet, but he pulled his weight. He did a phenomenal job. Story was great. Action was great. Hey, it was an amazing match. Miz impressed me. Storyline impressed me. I felt the tension. I bought into the story, which is to me something that is what makes wrestling great, is great storytelling. This match had it all, and worthy of being worthy of sharing a spot on the top 10.
Sure, Jan. All right. I'm up for number 9. I'm gonna steal.
Hey, I love the fact that you did that now, because I can turn peaceful off now when it comes to your list. I can turn peaceful off.
Oh yes, please. Because I guarantee you, the one known as Miz is not even anywhere near my top 10, nor would he be in honorable mentions, nor would he be anywhere in the conversation of Wrestler of the Year, because that's not what Miz is. Ever, period, end of story. Moving on. Number 9.
Hey, it's okay to be wrong. It's cute. It's adorable.
I know it is. I know
it's okay to be wrong. I mean, you know, it's okay. It's okay to be a sheep to the IWC. It's cool. It's fine.
I am not as much part of the IWC as you think I am.
You fall in line with them. You're falling in line perfectly with them.
No, I actually back up my stuff with facts and logic, and then if someone asks me, say, "Hey, Todd, can we discuss this?" I will discuss it. Sometimes I'll get
where's the logic? Well, what did Miz do wrong? Did you see the match? What did Miz do wrong in that match? What did, other than not liking the Miz, what was wrong with that match?
I thought, was it a good match? Sure, I'll give it that. It was a good match. But if you're telling me that Miz did better,
well, you're going to get really triggered with half my list. I'm going to tell you that right fucking now.
Okay, then might as well go to number 9, because for all of you who think, well, Todd will only have AEW matches on here, I say for shame. I do watch WWE. Do I enjoy it as much as everybody else? No, because I don't think they do as well as a lot of other promotions. But there were matches this year that made my top 10 list, and if it wasn't for the strap match that I remembered literally at the last second, I would have had 2 WWE matches to start this list. The other one being the triple threat match from WrestleMania with Walter versus Sheamus versus McIntyre. That was a banger of a match. So, but that got knocked out. That would be number 11. But number 9, to steal Easy's thunder, is the main event, night 1 of WrestleMania, with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos. And this
that's funny. That's my number 4.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. This one just, like Eli there was talking about, story. This was all about story. Whether, no matter what you thought about with the Bloodline, if you thought, oh, this is perfection cinema, blah, 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 or you thought, they should have put it on Sammy instead of Cody, which they didn't put on Cody, but we didn't know that at the time. This was an ending to the story. This was Sammy finishing at least part of his story with the Bloodline, and him doing it with his BFF in KO and beating the Usos. And there's a reason why people say, rightfully, that night 1 of WrestleMania was far superior to night 2 of WrestleMania this year. And this was one of the reasons. Hands down.
That one was better.
Yeah, night two. I talked about it with Eli, but like night 2, they played so safe with Bianca, with Walter, with Roman. They played it way too safe. Night 1 was fire. And
at the end of the day, with what ended up happening with Gunther, is there was a good method to that madness.
Well, I know. I just say, like, I felt at the time. Again, there's always hindsight in this, but they had 3 title runs that were in the record-breaking regions, and they kept them going instead of trying something new. And then, like, with Bianca later, with Asuka, which I definitely did not like, and it doesn't matter. But this was a good ending to one of those record-breaking streaks. The crowd was loving every single minute of it. Sammy, Kevin, the Usos, some of the best in the business, period, bringing it. And then Sammy winning it with multiple haluva kicks it was worth it. It was worth it. The only crime in this match was the aftermath, like the months aftermath, with them not putting as much emphasis on this as they should have, even though they had this tag team that the crowd loved. But this match was the pinnacle of many, many things, and easily one of the best tag team matches of the year, period. There's only one on my list that is better than this, and I'm sure you guys can guess what that is. But if that match had not happened, this will be the best tag team match of the year. That's not even close.
All right. Easy. 9.
So for my number 9, and while unfortunately I didn't watch this when it happened live, I did watch the highlights of this, and holy shit, this is how you book a death match. Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page from AEW Full Gear. Wow. Just already, you start off the insanity action and just all the basically it's just insanity in a nutshell, and maybe AEW's best death match they've ever done. Way better than the bullshit they pulled off at Revolution that one time, but that is beside the point. We're basically just beating a dead horse. But I even looked this up that apparently I think it was ranked number one as like AEW's like best match of 2023, which I beg to differ. There was
Yeah.
pay-per-view that was better, but anyhow.
I got about I got a few that are going to say otherwise, but you know, people are entitled to their opinion, and if they want to be assholes about it, they're entitled to be wrong too.
And plus, like, just the build-up between Swerve and Hangman, it's just been incredible. You know, especially when I think I kind of like it more, and I don't care. I find Prince Nana insanely annoying, but it was very amazing to watch Hangman just beat the living shit out of him the week before Full Gear. You know, saying like, yeah, you know, I've been told I can't touch you, Swerve, but that didn't say anything about Nana, and I'm like, yes, finally, can we beat up that stupid dancing monk or whatever? I don't care anymore. But
He's a brat.
I'm sorry. I find him more annoying than Paul Heyman. I'm sorry.
Wow.
His dancing is stupid. I like the mogul embassy. I mean, he always say, hey, you know, he's doing his job on being the villain. That is what Prince Nana is. And he is a very nice person that I see on his Twitter. But when it comes to the wrestling, you know, I'm unfiltered right there. Your dancing sucks. The theme music for Swerve is awesome, just not the dancing.
Okay. Well, my number 9 is, it's a cold day in hell because I'm actually giving props to somebody who I think is entirely overrated and do not like at all, but he had one match worthy of being in my top 10. Spoiler alert. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay, Wrestle Kingdom 17. This was a great match. Really enjoyed it. I liked it when, you know, hey, when Ospreay doesn't just ignore the whole story that was done in the match to get his flippy shit in. Hey, he's pretty good. The reason it's so low is because just overhyped. I didn't get to see it live. I had to wait for a couple days, and then when I heard literally everybody tell me, "This is the greatest match you'll ever see. No match is going to live up to this. No match, you know." When people set this big expectation, especially on the internet, well, you know, one, I take all of what the Twitter and Reddit hipsters have to say with like less than a grain of salt, but still, when you hear like, oh, not only was it like it doesn't deserve 5 stars, it deserves the whole galaxy of stars. It's the greatest thing ever. It took away from it, but still worthy of being on my top 10. Great match. Love the story. Yeah, just really, you know, just a good match. There's not really any like big subplot to it for me to hype up. Just like, wow, hey, when Ospreay isn't you know, ignoring everything about a match just to get his stuff in, I can maybe see why people like the guy.
Very interesting analysis there. Fascinating analysis.
Oh yeah.
Like
Well, I mean, hey, I can't wait to hear more of your fascinating analysis.
Oh, then you're gonna love this one. Are you ready? Oh, you ready?
And this is why Fightful would never hire us.
Oh yeah. They couldn't afford me. Number 8. Are you ready for this, Eli?
No.
It's Kenny Ospreay, WK17.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
See, I don't have to give analysis because the fact that Will Ospreay's on a list of mine is an accomplishment within itself.
No comment. But I'm going to give you one. Definitely, you got one thing correct. And here's how it played for me. I didn't watch Wrestle Kingdom live because, you know, I try to sleep. I try, you know. And so after it, I wake up and everyone in my circle on my timeline is saying, "Oh my gosh, did you guys see Kenny versus Ospreay? This is like the greatest thing ever. It's not Kenny Okada 4, but it's dang close." I'm like, dang, these guys must have cooked. And so a friend of mine found a link where someone put it like on Dailymotion or whatever before they got taken down because copyrights. And so I watched the whole match. Yeah, exactly. Superstar. So I watched the match and I was just like, you know, that was good. don't know why y'all saying this is like the best thing ever. I mean, maybe it was better live because you didn't know the result. I obviously knew that Kenny beat Ospreay. Maybe that helped take it away. I don't know. And the hype, like you said, kind of detracted. It was a good match.
But I want to say just one thing in my defense of like not liking this much live. I didn't think Kenny Okada 1 was good. Well, I shouldn't say wasn't good. Like it wasn't as good because of the hype. You know what I mean? Like
You mean Ospreay?
no, I'm talking about like way back in 2017 when like, oh my god, it broke the fucking Meltzer system. Like I didn't think that was as good as everybody said it is because I waited 3 weeks and watched it and like, oh, that was a really good match. Okay.
Yeah. But for me, it was just like, this was a good match. It was definitely incredibly physical. Not just like with the table spot or anything.
I think that's what I liked. The physicality helped me with this match.
Yeah, I like the physicality.
It wasn't just, here's pretty moves. Like there was like merit to the move.
Yeah, there was definitely a more emotional story going on here because this was Ospreay. Because if you saw like the promos leading up to this match, Ospreay just couldn't stand Omega because Omega had reverted kind of to his cleaner heel form. Like Ospreay said, I had to watch my buddy's funeral from an iPad, and he goes, "That sounds like a you problem." Like that was just cold. But the match was good. It was fun. I'm glad that Wrestle Kingdom got that boost from Kenny being there and the Sephiroth entrance. My God, the Sephiroth entrance. And then the return of the Aerial Assassin with Elevated. That was just great. The entrances alone were worthy of being on this list. But, it was a good match, but there was another that was better. But we'll get to that.
You will.
Oh, I will. Oh, I will.
All right.
Easy?
All right, so for my number 8 is the main event of AEW New Japan's Forbidden Door, Bryan Danielson, Kazuchika Okada. The reason this is lower on the list, it would have been higher, but it was mostly because of me. I was fucking tired by the time the show was ending. Like, I was literally trying to stay awake as much as possible because this may or may not be the first and only time I talk about Forbidden Door, but it's just the match is incredible. Two of like the best technical wrestlers out there, between the American Dragon and the Rainmaker, and also just a first and what a many shout outs to the New Japan ring announcer. I don't know what his name is, but he's freaking amazing. Just whenever he's just calling them, when he's just announcing the matches or the wrestlers in Japanese. And also, we got to hear the AEW, at least debut of the Final Countdown, which I may or may not have freaked out way too hard when I heard the familiar tune.
I went up 2 octaves. I was like, when they did like
the moment I hear the dun, it's like they're not doing it, and I hear do. I'm like, holy shit!
I was right there with you. I'm like, I think you're doing Final Countdown, and then they go da 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 da. I screamed octaves higher.
Because honestly, like if they didn't do the Final Countdown, the best entrance could have been. You get the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, which, by the way, they're phenomenal people. You get the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, get them to do Flight of the Valkyrie, and then maybe that transitions to Rise of or Born for Greatness, and all that. But no, just hearing Final Countdown was unreal, and even I was hoping the Toronto crowd was going to scream, "It's the Final Countdown!" And
well, if they didn't, that was the entrance. That was what you did when he was in Ring of Honor. That was the entrance.
Well,
they play that, and then you go to the turn. Yeah, and then So.
Well, how am I supposed to know what? Knowing Toronto, they are fickle. So how was I supposed to know that they were going to do that too? But
true because I've learned. And there's nothing wrong with this, but I've learned. I've learned since AEW was created that most of the people that have gotten on board with AEW, and again, I'm not faulting anybody who does this, but a lot of them did not watch Bryan Danielson in ROH. So, like, as big of a deal as it is as big a deal as that was for y'all, imagine how it felt for all of us who watched Bryan Danielson in ROH and got to
it's probably the same people, when they watch Punky Brewster in Ring of Honor, and then suddenly they hear.
The AFI, and I can't stand Punk, but like that was awesome.
Anyhow, like hearing Final Countdown's great, and especially if you go to any sports venue or any sports game and you hear the Final Countdown being played, everyone's going to belt. It's the Final Countdown, and that was amazing. Then, of course, Okada comes out with the usual Rainmaker, which is one of my favorite theme songs of all time. So, yeah, but that match was great. Again, it's just lower on the list because you just blame someone who just could not have the stamina to try to keep watching it. Like, I almost thought I was about to fall asleep, but match was amazing. But that's may or may not be the only match I talk about Forbidden Door.
Yeah,
All
I just
right.
want to know really quick. I'm sorry, I got to know this really quick because I forgot to mention this in my number 10 entry. They played Final Countdown again during All Out, and we were losing it in Chicago because I was like, wait a minute, I can just sing Final Countdown. I recorded everyone belting "It's the Final Countdown" at the top of their lungs. It was life affirming.
And I will give credit for Excalibur, like, because he has pointed out that he's a Detroit Pistons fan, and he was like, I thought I would never ever hear Final Countdown being played at the United Center of all places.
He was great.
Yes.
All right.
So my number 8, it is a match that would be on my list no matter what, but I put it where it did when I was trying to like figure it out because like kind of these like my 6 through 10, like I could kind of, other than like 10, I could kind of like mess with them. Like I didn't really have a particular order because I kind of like all rate them the same. But I put this one where I did on the list basically because I know it's going to trigger half of the internet. So, hey. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar, WWE SummerSlam. Number 8. Love the story they told with that match. Felt like a Rocky movie. I'm a huge Rocky fan. And this felt like a Rocky movie to me. It felt like Rocky versus Drago. And the way they told the story, the way they built up the match, just as I said, I'm a good underdog story. I like storytelling in wrestling. The internet hipsters will tell you like, who actually cares if he's like Dusty? That's so passe. But those of us that watch Dusty, we appreciate that sort of thing. And Cody felt like Dusty in that match. I felt like I was watching fucking, the Omni, or I was watching a show from, the Greensboro Coliseum and Dusty was fighting Nikita Koloff, or, just, one of the things that, and EZ knows what I'm talking about, when you have an attachment to something from a bygone era that's no longer there, you gravitate towards things that remind you of that era. It's why in NASCAR, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Chase Elliott were so popular, because a lot of us love Bill Elliott. A lot of us love Dale Earnhardt Sr. And when they're around, they remind us of, in a good way, they put their own spin on what came before them, and we have that link. We have that link to something we loved from the past. And we know that while everything changes, inevitably, the past is always there. Like the past is always there. We have that connection. And this match,
IndyCar, every time I watch Elio Castroneves drive, he's like, "That's my childhood hero."
Yeah. And if Elio, one of his daughter's races, hey, that'll be a reminder of when we watched Elio.
And actually, a side note, like, I am counting down the days that Sebastian and Oliver Weldon go to IndyCar.
Yeah,
because
exactly. But
that's going to just make me cry too much because I've idolized Dan Weldon growing up.
But that's what this match did for me. It was like the Aldis match from All In. Like, it's like I never got to see Dusty live, but in that moment, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching Dusty. I feel like I'm getting to see the American Dream. I feel like I'm seeing Dusty versus Flair for the NWA title. This was me thinking, I feel like I'm watching, maybe I'm not in the arena, but I feel like I'm watching Dusty fighting Nikita Koloff. I feel like I'm seeing I'm seeing this generation of what that match would be. And that's special. That's special, may not be special to everybody, and that's your prerogative. But for somebody like, for a lot of us, that hits home. And that's why I really like this match. I was seeing the present, but feeling the past. And that's, like I said, you know, it's like seeing Chase Elliott in person. I feel like I'm watching his dad, and that's what this was, and that means a lot. You know, when you were a fan of Dusty Rhodes before he passed. Todd,
I admire the parallels.
number 7.
Oh yes, we are at number 7. Well, if yours is going to break the internet, mine's probably going to break you. We shall see. Number 7.
Nothing's going to break me because I know what your tastes are, and I know we don't have the same ones. So
I know we don't have the same ones. We're not even halfway through the list, and I know we don't have the same ones. Number 7.
How long have we been on the air again?
Who knows? Who cares? Straight from Wembley. It's Stadium Stampede. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I love this match because I love the idea of Stadium Stampede.
I love Stadium Stampede.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know what you're saying. Like, don't get the fact that I'm not, all up AEW's ass to, detach from that. I like Stadium Stampede.
And I respect that. But I wasn't sure where you'd fall in this. I really did.
I've loved everything. That Stadium Stampede has as much of a place as, like, how I felt about Cody and Brock. I just,
Yeah,
I like a melting pot. I don't like this is the way. And in my opinion, for a company that says we're not going to be that way, they're that way.
What I love about Stadium Stampede was that this, remember, was born out of the worst possible period for AEW in terms of like world events because of the global pandemic.
Just the world in general,
the
whole damn world, not just AEW.
I said because of world events, be nice, because they had like.
Then you said the P word.
What was the P word?
Pandemic.
I didn't say. Never mind.
He didn't say pandemic.
But the first Stadium Stampede was like the thing of like this sounds stupid. If you remember, like when Jericho announced Stadium Stampede, we were like, okay, like what the heck was that? And then it happened, and we were like, oh my gosh, that was the greatest thing ever. I literally watched the pay-per-view, went to bed. Next day, I had like an hour. I'm just like, I gotta watch Stadium Stampede again. And I did it, and I loved it. And so when they brought it back to Wembley, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a lot of fun. But would it mean the same in Wembley as it did in Jacksonville? And it did. And I know a lot of people are like, but they kind of rushed this. It was supposed to be 6-on-6, and then it turned to 5-on-5 because of there was the visa issue with Phoenix, and didn't matter. They totally crushed it, and it was totally hilarious. And they had some of the best moments. Like just when you thought, okay, this is the peak, then Sue comes out.
Say Sue's worthy enough of it just being. You gotta make at least an honorable mention for Sue.
Oh yeah, Sue. I mean, Sue is top 10 every day of the week and twice on Saturdays. Saturday. But yeah, Sue comes out and helps her boys. Then Penta gets injured, and then he comes out as Penta Obscuro and puts Satana through the table. And then we're like, how the heck is this gonna end? Oh, with Eddie putting Moxley through the table, flipping him off the entire time, and Cassidy putting like glass and glue on his orange punch just so he could take out Claudio. Like the best friends, Eddie and Penta won that match over Blackpool Combat Club, and I'm missing somebody. Who was it? It was Moxley, Claudio, Wheeler, and Proud and Powerful. Sorry, Proud. That was our last match, so that rest in peace. But that match was just so much fun, and like Wembley was totally into it, and just like the shot. I mean, Orange winning was great enough, but then they pan to Eddie through the table, Mox over his shoulder, and he's flipping him off, like and he's just not letting it go. I'm just like, this is so great. This is so great. So yeah, Stadium Stampede, everybody, love it.
There you go. All right, so my number 7, we got one that's going to create tension, one that's dividing attention. Mine is going to break the hearts. So number 7, it is AEW Dynamite, January 25th, between Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
So
I like
this was just the feel-good moment. Like, just watch the match online, because like there's no shitty storylines. There's just nothing but just a fight between Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal, like longtime rivals, allies, companions, just all of the above. And Mark with the win, of course. And put in context for those who have forgot or are or learning about pro wrestling for the first time. But Mark Briscoe and his brother Jay Briscoe were one of maybe the best tag teams that you could see in person. And sadly, I've only seen them once, and it was at All In. And it had an amazing banger, which, shit, wasn't it against SCU, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. And Jay Briscoe...
Wait a minute, you saw him at MSG, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, jeez.
That's how bad that show was.
Oh, yeah, I forgot it. Oh, yeah, because there was a
Fatal 4-way for the IWGP and the ROH tag belts, yeah.
Yeah, no, okay, thank you for reminding me, actually. I forgot they won that match. It's just...
No, they lost.
Somebody kind of ruined it. Anyhow. But, yeah, thanks for reminding me anyways. But, yeah, Jay Briscoe, we tragically lost him in a terrible car crash. And, well, thankfully, his rest of his family had survived. Sadly, he had died. And that wasn't just the only death that sucked for 2023, but we also lost Terry Funk. We lost the Iron Sheik. And we lost Bray Wyatt, which... It's sad that his final match for WWE before his death was that stupid Mountain Dew pitch black match. Sorry, not sorry. Anything involving a sponsor and a stupid gimmick, your match is gonna kind of look lame. But anyhow, but this was just a feel-good moment, and with Mark getting the win, and then you just see Jay like just breaking down because you just lost like a long-time friend. Like those are the moments in the matches where we'll mourn people that we love, and we're going to miss them terribly, but at the same time, you got to honor on the incredible stuff that they had done. So, and I always love it whenever we see Mark Briscoe come out, we still see Jay's name on the Videotron. Like, it's always a great way to keep the spirit alive. So
it didn't fully hit me until I saw Mark wrestle in St. Louis, and I'm like, damn. I mean, like, it's one of those, that's when, like, reality really sets in.
I wasn't, like, totally close into following the Briscoes, but it's like, I knew about them. I knew they had, like, massive feuds with everyone, and, like,
I was one of those old ROH guys that were...
With the Bucks,
yeah, with the Briscoes, and, that was a tough one. Especially because...
For the longest time,
especially because Jay is, like, became such a good person, but people still, like... Yeah. Held that against him, but I'm glad. It's unfortunate, but I'm glad that now everybody knows what a wonderful person.
And for the longest time,
Jamie Pugh, Jay Briscoe was.
And I kept thinking for the longest time the Briscoes were twins, just like the same time I thought the Bucks were twins or something. I don't know. It just looked that similar to me.
Yeah, I like that match just because it's really sad that we've already had 2 tribute shows on AEW in its short history, one for Brody Lee and one for Jay Briscoe. Mm-hmm. But both times they crushed it, and then at the end with the Jay image in the background, and then finding out like the day after that 1 million people tuned in to pay tribute to Jay Briscoe just showed just how much love and support he had. I'm being completely blunt here, it was one of the few 1 million shows in all of 2023 for AEW, and I'm glad that one of them was for the Briscoes because they deserve it. So.
Oh, and also go check out Ring of Honor's Jay Briscoe Celebration of Life show. It is amazing. They literally have like all-star compilation of some of his best matches out there.
All right. Anything else you want to add about that one?
No, I'm good.
All right. My number 7 is the beginning of a theme you're going to see with a lot of my top 10 list. Eddie Kingston versus Bryan Danielson, the AEW Continental Classic semifinals.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah. 2 of my all-time favorites. Been watching Bryan Danielson, since the ROH days. Been watching Eddie Kingston since the Chikara CZW days. Love Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston is like a guy that, unless something just the bottom really falls out on something, Eddie's always going to have my support because of just how good of a guy he is. I've met Eddie. It's like him, Cody, Sammy Guevara. Always gonna really like be excited about them because of when meeting them and how well they've all treated me, given free autographs and stuff like that. Y'all don't have to do that, but they did it. So, but that's neither here nor there because we're gonna talk about this match. This was an amazing match. Eddie Kingston lost to Danielson earlier in the tournament. They're doing things a little different than the G1. They allow, they don't do a playoff with a bunch of different people. They take the top however many scores. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But we got a rematch between Eddie and Bryan. He was insulted. He being Eddie Kingston was insulted at the end of the first match. Eddie redeemed himself with a big win over Bryan, just a brutal match. And the fact that, whether or not I really, love what all the new belts and don't know exactly what they're doing with the belt, the fact that Eddie Kingston is out there with the Triple Crown like his heroes from All Japan, the fact that Eddie Kingston is on national TV, the fact that people all over the world are loving Eddie Kingston makes me very happy, because Eddie Kingston's awesome.
Yes, he is.
Not only as a wrestler, but as a person, at least from my dealings with him as a person. And the people I know who wrestle that have dealt with him as a person. I mentioned at number 10, how much I want to see, Gary J deserves to be on TV. And while Eddie, did do some local stuff, he's not a St. Louis guy, but Eddie, through watching him in Chikara and him coming to St. Louis fairly regularly before COVID happened, this is me seeing, much like I did his opponent, somebody who I liked when nobody knew who they were, making it big, and a lot of people knowing how great he is now, not only in North America, but in Japan for Eddie too. So I'm all for Eddie Kingston. I'm for Eddie Kingston, and this match was a big match for Eddie, and
yeah,
I'm glad that he won. I'm glad he won the whole tournament, and I'm glad that now everybody knows how great the King of Diamonds is.
Yeah. If I was to have, I didn't do it like what you did, but if I was to have multiple honorable mentions, I would literally just put the Continental Classic in like a group. It's like just
I wouldn't go that far, but there was good matches.
Oh, I literally timed it. There was only one match under 10 minutes, and even that one had a story, because Roosh was just ticked that he lost to Moxley by chokeout, but pretty much every match cooked. And then by the time you got to the two finales, like yours, and then the triple threat with Mox, Swerve, and Jay, like 20 to 25 minutes each, incredible wrestling, great storytelling. Like this was just so much fun. This was pure wrestling at its finest in many, many ways. There were stories that were.
You think I'm not knocking your opinion, but if you think this is great, get a New Japan World subscription this summer.
Okay. We didn't say this at the beginning of the show, and I feel we should do it right now before we continue. We're only talking about the matches we
Yeah. Well, nobody's. Nobody else has seen in this group has seen this SLA. But this is a friendly suggestion. If this is what you like from wrestling, get a New Japan World subscription.
Yeah,
watch the G1.
Yeah, I know. G1's great, and that was actually what the big fear was. Like, oh my gosh, you're just doing like a pint-sized G1. Can they make it work? And they did. They absolutely did. Oh, come on.
No. Here, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying.
This was a home run. Come on.
Okay. This is constructive criticism. This is tough love from a coach looking for you to get better. Okay. This is what I'm saying. Was it great? Everything you just said's true.
Thank you.
But is it as good as the G1?
I didn't say that.
No. This is what's being compared to. So this is how you can make everything you said better. The problem with the Continental Classic, in comparison to the G1, is the G1 feels like more of an event. The whole world of New Japan stops for the G1. The G1 is the only thing going on. The champion is in the G1. Therefore, it is the most important thing. For many years in New Japan, the G1 was considered as important, if not more important, than winning the IWGP title. Now, I don't know if you can go that far in Western wrestling. I don't know if you can go, if you could pull that off. But as someone who watches the G1 and the Continental Classic, I don't think it will ever be equal because of that. That's not saying it's bad. That is just me saying that if Tony Khan were to really just go, fuck it, let's go, and do that with the Continental Classic next year or in a couple of years, it could reach it. But until that happens, the G1, even in a rough year, I think will always be better because it is truly the most important thing that exists in that period of time. Whereas the Continental Classic, as great as it was, all the great matches, all the great performances, and everything you just said, we're here. We're on the same page. It doesn't have that big aura, that big feeling around it, which, when I'm watching the G1, I really feel like I'm watching, the urgency of a real sport and the importance of it. Whereas when I'm watching the Continental Classic, I feel like I'm watching something important, but something that's second tier.
Okay, but here's my counter to that. You're comparing one to the other for two reasons. One, format, because it's both were round robin, but two was because this is obviously, one was the inspiration, this is the follow-up. You can't do that fairly because honest question, how long has the G1 been going on?
Oh, it's been forever. It's going to take years to get there. I'm just saying that
that's what I'm saying. You're saying, like, oh, this feels like an event. This feels like something special. And yeah, the G1 is, even in a bad year, like what many felt with the 2023 G1 Classic. And
2023 was great. I don't know what those people were smoking.
Maybe I saw the wrong post. Like I said, I didn't watch it. I saw a lot of negativity, especially when it came to like Evil and whatever.
Well,
yes, Eddie was in the G1, that makes it great automatically. But you can't compare it right now because this was the first year.
And that's why I said that those were constructive criticisms for the future.
You can't. But that's still not. That's not fair because you can be happy.
No, it's very fair. Hey, here is your goal.
Let me talk. Seriously, you're saying like, oh yeah, it has to because this is an event. This is special. This is this. This is that. We didn't know how the CC would play out. And even recently, we heard like one of Tony Khan's initial idea was he was going to have like multiple ties throughout the tournament to really ratchet up the tension. And then he got constructive criticism from Bryan Danielson, Claudio, and some others. And so he goes, no, okay, fine, we'll have one tie. And it was like one of the most important ones and not the match we all thought it was. And so they need to have at least 2 to 3 of these, not to mention build up what it means to be the Continental Crown Champion, which people have already started smack talking. Jerks. One match, guys. Thank you for that. It was a great match, by the way. You can't compare. What?
Nothing. Go on.
But I know what you're trying to say, but you can't. It's hard to make that comparison when one has been an event forever, and they've made it clear that the G1.
And this is your ultimate goal.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like,
you've gone D1 in college basketball for the first time. You make the NCAA tournament as a 10 seed. Here's the constructive criticism to, hey, now that you're D1 and you've proven you can be a 10 or 11 or a 12 seed, you can eventually be a 1. Here is the plan. Here is the blueprint. Here's the constructive criticism to work with for your program over time to get you in a 1 seed and maybe make you to the Final Four. This is AEW's constructive criticism. Some things they can work on, some things they can see if they can do to see if one day they can be that 1 seed. See if one day, right now I don't really like it. One day they could be as good as Duke. They can be. That's why it's constructive. Here's the steps you need to take. If they're possible, here's the constructive criticism to get you there.
I'm going to do my 6th pick now because we're clearly talking in circles. All right, my 6th pick. And this is my 3rd promotion of the card. I'm very proud of myself. I honestly thought I would have 3, but it turned out I have 4. I'm very proud of myself. This is Athena versus Willow Nightingale, Death Before Dishonor. I gotta make that clear because they faced 3 times. One on Honor Club, one on was it Collision? Yeah, it was Collision for the Owen Hart Cup, and then the 3rd time was Death Before Dishonored. And this one was very important because this was the first women's main event at a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. For the cementing, my Athena is the Women's Wrestler of the Year. Sorry, Rhea fans, not sorry. Recess. But the reason I like this one was because, first of all, these ladies are epic. Like, these are great wrestlers. They're great personalities. They're complete opposites of each other in terms of what they're trying to be as a wrestler. And we knew that they could do great things. Like, I didn't get to see the first one because I didn't have Honor Club at the time. And then I saw the second one. I'm like, okay, this is good, but I know they couldn't do better. And then they go, yeah, let's do the third part at Death Before Dishonor. And that was a good show. That was a really good show. I had a lot of fun with it. And then these two brought down the gosh dang house. And this was the night that we all thought that Athena was going to lose the title, because Willow is a perfect successor. I mean, Willow is amazing. I hope for her to get titles in AEW Ring of Honor soon enough in 2020. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Who was that? Who dropped something?
Oh, the phone was teetered a little bit too much.
Okay, sorry. But these two like gave it their all. They were pulling out moves from past Ring of Honor women's champions, and that was awesome. They were doing like Sumi Sakai, and they were doing the what was that? I'm sorry, I can't remember all the moves, but there were so many references to past Ring of Honor women's champions, and they were just bringing it on. And then when Willow kicked out of the Eclipse, which hadn't happened at the O-Face. It used to be the Eclipse, but now it's the O-Face. Look at the backstory for that one. That's hilarious. But like everyone exploded, like, oh my gosh, Willow's gonna do it, and then Athena kicked out of the bait bomb, and everyone lost. It's like, wait a minute, what's gonna happen here? And then when Athena won, people couldn't believe it. They were like, wait a minute, Athena actually won? I thought this was Willow's night. That, unlike say like the Cody Roman thing, didn't feel like a screw job. It was just Athena saying, you just can't beat me. And
I like that because it reminded me of when Asuka beat Ember in 2017 after they are like.
Yeah,
we thought it was going to be Ember Moon's night. She's going to beat Asuka, win the championship, and she didn't. So I kind of thought that was like kind of like a nice callback. Like now she's here. So
yeah, and like I'm always, and I know Eli knows this, but like I am a big proponent of women's wrestling. I am always going to root for them, and I'm always going to hope for them to get like 10 plus minute matches, as many matches on a pay-per-view card as possible, and for Athena to main event back-to-back Ring of Honor pay-per-views in the main event slot and put on 2 banger matches alongside all the other great matches she does on Ring of Honor, even though many of you don't see it, and that's just the truth. This is why she's your forever champ, because she can hold the division down on her own, make every action count, lift everyone up. Willow did not deteriorate after that match, all right? Willow is still Epic Willow, but Athena is just that dang good. And I love that match. If I wanted to put Billy Starks on here too, but I think there was just better matches, including this one. But the reason that Ring of Honor is even at a certain standing right now is because of Athena, and she absolutely deserves to be on this list.
Okay, easy, number 6.
All right, so actually, on a side note, and this is a massive spoiler, I don't have any women's matches on my list because I'm sorry, but neither WWE or AEW had a women's match that stood out for me.
I have a lot of my honorable mentions.
Yeah. But yeah, like WWE, they still got like a strong women's division. Wish I could say the same with AEW, but hey, we'll see what happens with Timeless Tony Storm. God damn, I can't get used to that. But anyhow, just whatever. Anyways, in my number 6, we are going back to Forbidden Door, and it's the opener between MJF and Hiroshi Tanahashi, and the match that no one thought would actually happen because MJF didn't want it to happen. But Adam Cole said, "Yes, do it because you're scared." And this was a great opener. Is MJF saying like, I'm not gonna fight anyone from New Japan, blah blah blah. It's like I'm just gonna walk in and walk out, and that's pretty much what he kind of did. Is just walk in, fight Tanahashi. They put on a really awesome opening banger, and then he wins his AEW World Championship, and then leaves Toronto. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. That was a great banger.
Just a shame that the IWGP World Champion couldn't have gotten a legendary opponent. But to quote Taz, I
I'm
digress.
totally with you on that one. We talked about this before. Sonata going 10 minutes to Jungle Boy, like almost exactly 10 minutes. I'm like, that's their champ.
Yeah, that is my anytime. I've been getting a lot of heat for this on Twitter, which what else is new? But I said, hey, feel like AEW could do a little bit more giving and a little less taking from their relationship with New Japan. Like, oh, but Kenny went to, but they had Kenny and then they did this. I'm like, yeah, and their world champion wrestled a mid match against a mid Carter, and I'm breaking my don't use the insider terms rule, but that's the only thing I can come up with. Mid match with a mid Carter.
Wasn't there like a thing that Jericho did?
And it was,
I
and not only was it a mid match, it was a mid match that was second fill to a fucking angle with Hook.
Yeah, wasn't there a thing that Jericho did that it was either Jack Perry or Orange Cassidy couldn't last 10 minutes with him or something?
That was Jack. That was
yeah.
year one AEW.
Yeah, but. And I will say this about the Sonata match. It did give us a very shocking turn that Perry actually attacked Hulk. I'm like, you goddamn bastard.
And it overshadowed having the IWGP World Champion on the fucking card.
Yeah, and to remember, the first Forbidden Door had the very fun Fatal 4-Way with Jay, Okada, Adam, and Adam! And that one was only, slightly detracted because of Adam's injury. But, that match was great. And the entrances alone were fun, and the crowd was totally into it. But
now, if the Sonata Perry match would have been the opener, maybe I cut them.
It shouldn't have been Perry. It should have been like Samoa Joe, or it should have been like here's a legend.
Claudio.
Yeah, it should have been like
Claudio would have been great.
But Claudio was in the Anarchy in the Arena match, though.
No, that's wrong.
He was in a different match in Forbidden Door. Yeah,
never mind.
They could have had Joe. They could have found another Tanahashi's a legend. Get kind of a quote unquote legend for Sonata and wham bam thank you ma'am. But they elected not to do that, and I got told that I didn't appreciate how good the match was going to bang. So yeah, that's another reason why I don't take a lot of AEW fans' opinions very seriously. But we know.
Wait, didn't we say that during the prediction show we wanted Darby Allin to be in it? Or wait, no, because he was in another match.
Yeah, but it's whatever.
He was in the tag match.
Yeah, so I have my number 6. My number 6 is Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus from WrestleMania 39. Again, just a great match. Adds to the legendary Intercontinental Championship reign of Gunther. I was deflated at the end of it because I really thought this was going to be Sheamus's night. But it's kind of one of those things for that heartbreak, for what we're seeing now with Gunther now being the record and the solidifying himself as the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Bite me, Honky Tonk Man, who's bitter about it. It was just one more feather in the cap for somebody who, one of the top wrestlers in the world, one of the top wrestlers in WWE, and it was just it was another chapter in a very, very, I shouldn't say maybe another chapter. It was a good stop on a long journey that's still going on, that I'm enjoying.
Yeah. And no matter what you feel about the reign, how long it's going, Walter, absolutely brought that belt back.
Yeah.
The IC title meant nothing for years. We mean literally years here. And then Walter got the title.
And it's one of the, he'll be the part that upsets you. He's elevated to the point where I think it means more than most belts in wrestling. And yes, I'm including AEW.
Well, I'll add to that. I think it's infinitely more important right now than Roman's title.
Oh, I agree.
Good.
I agree.
I just wish the IC title wouldn't look so fucking ugly.
Yeah, I just wish they'd go back to the old design. That's the design that Cody brought back.
That's actually one of my critiques about the Walter's reign is that it is infinitely believable that he could beat Roman. You can't tell me that he couldn't beat Roman. And they're like, no, we can't have him lose the title because then what's he gonna do? Because we can't have him go for Roman because he would actually beat him because he's got Imperium on his side. So that would take out Solo and Jimmy. So
how much longer does he have Imperium on his side?
I honestly don't know the current story with that.
They're kind of teasing that might
break up. Seriously, not everyone has to break up, people. Breaking up is hard to do. Did no one listen to the song? All right. Breaking into the top 5. My second tag team match of the night: FTR versus Bullet Club Gold, Part 2. The near hour-long match on Collision, and there are many, many reasons why this is on my list, but the biggest one is that literally the week before, we had a near 30-minute match between these two, and it was awesome. Which is interesting because the week before then it was like, oh, we're going to get this match on Collision? I mean, okay. And then after that match, everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is great. We're going to get a rematch next week. And it's 2 out of 3 falls, which anyone who knows FTR, top guys, top 2 out of 3 falls match dudes. This is what they do. This is their match. And everything about it was awesome. The fact that they were allowed on live television on a Saturday night, everybody, on cable TV, to do an hour long, basically an hour, 58 minutes, an hour long match was awesome, which shows how much faith Tony Khan has in his wrestlers to let them do that. And then, remember, that's not the only hour long match they've had on free TV, just saying. But and the crowd was into it. The crowd was loving it. Nigel and I believe it was Kevin Kelly and I think Rick Bonney was there too, maybe? I don't remember now. But the announcers were loving it. When FTR did the suplex to splash bit and they had the perfect camera pan, the whole crowd was standing up because they wanted to witness this as best they could. And the right team won. Tag team wrestling was born once again because up until that point, I'll fully admit it, they were not doing right by FTR. Because they didn't have them on Forbidden Door. They weren't doing as many tag team title matches as they should. But after that, they started cooking. They started cooking again. It was great stuff. And, you know, the Bang Bang Gang did not get the title, but they definitely got a lot of respect. And, you know, that's what you sometimes need. You don't sometimes need to win. Sometimes you just need the respect to know, like, hey, if you ask us to go, we'll go. And the best part about that match, ironically, is Juice Robinson, who, if you don't know the story, he almost didn't make it to the arena in time. He got there about less than an hour before the match was going to go, and all the parties were like, are we going to be able to pull this off? And he said, we can do this, and they did. Respect to the man named Juice, who, by the way, is timeless Tony Storm's husband. Okay.
My only gripe about this match was it kind of had the Omega Ospreay problem of...
Which part?
Just the Omega Ospreay 1 problem that I had. I didn't see it live. So then everybody's like, this is the greatest thing ever. And it was damn fine. Really enjoyed it. You know, not
stuck in traffic or something, or what happened?
What?
Not taking anything away, but just when I AEW fans and New Japan fans too have this, what I call the Marvel problem, where everything they do, if it's like really good or great even, they tell you that this is the most amazing thing ever, and it just gets built up so much that unless you saw it on opening night or read it right there on Wednesday or, you know, whatever, it's built up so much because of how excited they were. It gets built up to where you're like, oh, I can't live at that standard. That was my one gripe about it.
Uh-huh.
By the way, why was Juice running behind? What happened?
It's just travel delays.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think they were in Canada. Maybe it doesn't matter
Fucking
where.
Canada.
But like, well, I thought they were in Canada.
I don't know.
Maybe not. I'll look it up, but it doesn't matter. But he just had travel issues, which it happens. It does. Like even in today's world, we still have travel issues. So, and he barely got there in time for the match, and then it's like, can we even do this? And it's like, yeah, we're gonna do it, and they did. So props to you, Juice.
There you go.
Easy, number 5.
Anyway, so my number 5, and speaking about Canada, we go to French Canada, to the Elimination Chamber between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. And this was a match that I really didn't think should have happened. However, for the sake of storytelling, it was actually pretty good. Because at least the ending, despite Roman winning, was actually very amazing to build and continue the storyline, or at least with storytelling. With, if I'm trying to remember, I think it was the Usos coming out attacking Sami. Then we had Kevin Owens coming in, and then basically just ruining the title celebration. And we were going to get that eventual tag team match at WrestleMania. So, but yeah, no, but. In terms of Roman and Sami, like, this actually looked like, wait a minute, Sami could actually beat Roman. What is going on here? Because I was actually now getting intrigued, thinking, they're not going to do this. And then, sure enough, yeah, of course they weren't going to do this. Because especially not the first time things didn't go according to plan in Montreal, but that's beside the point. It's still a really great match, though. And, Sammy really did have, like, a great 2023.
Oh, yeah.
Just, unfortunately, he was not on my short list for any of our rest of the year most improved breakout. It's like, yeah, somebody else. But either way, Sammy, you did a phenomenal job.
I say this a lot about wrestling matches. You know you're having a great match when you know what the ending's going to be. And midway through, you forget that's going to be the ending. And then you're disappointed when the ending you knew was coming happens. So
Yeah.
that is a good that is a great match.
Especially if you know the Montreal crowd, they can be quite hostile. So that was my worry. It's like, if they're going to screw Sammy, it's not gonna look good.
I knew, like there was never a doubt in my mind that Sammy was going to lose that match. I mean, so I'm sorry, especially once Cody won the Rumble, it was oh so obvious because they weren't going to do Cody versus Sammy. As much as I would have liked that match, I really would have.
Well, they almost eased it too. If I'm not mistaken, it was either Raw or SmackDown.
They did it because he said, "Finish the story, then you finish your story, then come face me." That was the whole thing. Like they put the option out there, but it was never really an option. My problem is that it should have been the option, especially after what happened with Cody at WrestleMania, because the whole question was, who could reasonably not just beat Roman, but hold the title in a meaningful way? And Eli and I were just having this conversation the other day about Cody, and there's no doubt in my mind Sammy could have done it. There's literally no doubt in my mind. He was so dang over. He's the guy who helped breathe life into the Bloodline storyline. The reason that we have the whole Bloodline is cinema nonsense is because of Sammy. It ain't because of Roman. It's because of Sammy. And the crowd was, even without, it could have been in any city. Case in point, Royal Rumble, when he hit the chair on Roman, they weren't in Canada, and that crowd went nuts because we're finally going to get Sammy versus Roman for the title, and Sammy could win it. Sammy could have totally carried it, and they didn't pull the trigger. And even Sammy said that WWE did not see him as a top guy. And that's so wrong because he is so over, so beloved. He could sell the merch.
So many quote-unquote top guys that WWE just doesn't see as top guys.
Exactly, and that's tragic because...
That's a video for its own.
That is.
For its own.
That is. So...
Whenever it happened, it goes back, and this is going to come up later when we do the other year-end awards. There were so many things that now fell flat because they didn't do Cody beating Roman. Because the way I saw Sammy losing was like, okay, well, if Cody wins, this was like when Nigel didn't beat Danielson in the UK for the ROH title. It's like, you gotta, in order for... sometimes your heart has to be broken in order to get to this other, there's another story, and this person's heart has to be broken. And if they would have just done that, it would have been fine. But since they didn't, it didn't work out well. And that's going to be reflected later.
Yes.
But, it was still a great match. And like I said, it could have been, the equivalent of like, oh, damn, this sucks. But hey, better days ahead. Once this guy falls, there'll be better days ahead. He can still get on the trajectory. But now, since they don't want to do that, I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know where Sammy goes from here. This is legit. I mean, seriously, like Kevin's not with him anymore.
He's still doing good on Raw. He's still in good segments. I'm still enjoying.
It's not the same. Also, before you do your number 6 or 5, I just want to note one thing: FTR versus Bullet Club Gold was in Calgary. I was right. Canada, baby, Canada. You're welcome. May continue.
This is why AEW is going to have a Canada tour soon.
And it's already selling pretty well. Anyway.
I know.
All right, you're number 5, Eli.
Number 5. Bryan Danielson versus Ricky Starks at AEW All Out.
Hey!
Just,
Hey.
How you doing?
Yep. A little bit of it's probably higher up than... It's higher on the list compared to my last 2 because I was there.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, great. The way they pulled that one. I kind of thought something was up because I went to StarCast that weekend, and like I walk out to my car to go get something I'd left in there, and as I'm walking in, I see Bryan Danielson walking in, and I'm kind of like just starstruck seeing him, And then the handler just looks at me and shakes his head. I'm like, I'm not going to bother him. Like, I can't put my hands up. Like, I'm not even going to bother him. I'm just like, oh shit. So I'm kind of like, something's going on here. And then we ended up watching Collision, which I felt like I could enjoy because Pepsi Phil was no longer employed for being a dick. I'm not saying don't just unemploy him because I don't like him. I'm not that wrapped up in my own bullshit. But, and they were kind of talking about how Starks was going to wrestle Ricky Steamboat. And while there's no way in hell that match would have been nearly as good as what we got, there was a part of me that was like, hey, I've never seen a Ricky Steamboat match in person. I've met him, but I've never seen a Ricky Steamboat match in person. Hey, Ricky can pull this off. Let's go. Let's go, Steamboat. I want to see Ricky Steamboat wrestle. But then the way they pulled it off with the Dragon and, the way they did that whole segment and then Stark signing the contract and then realizing he got duped. Great stuff from Ricky. It's why AEW needs to really fight to keep him, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. Who knows? But the way they did that whole storyline is great. Danielson came back, did a great job. It was brutal. It was like an old school strap match from the old territory days, which is one of the things I like the most about it because strap matches are hard to pull off, and especially with this new breed of wrestling, and they make the match more about like cool things with the strap instead of the brutality of a strap match. But Ricky and Brian didn't do that. They made it about the brutality of a strap match. And we got the final countdown too, which for me, the ROH guy of the group was even more impactful.
And hey, I just want to note that you were totally right about the brutality of it, because I've seen strap matches, including one in WWE, or at least two in WWE. It was Brian, Wyatt, and Karrion, Drew. Neither of which were the best.
Brian and Bray was not on that level, but good. But yeah, the Karrion Drew wasn't that good. And I've seen ones in ROH. I've seen ones in ROH that's like hey, how can we do a cool And you like flip stuff, you like it. I disagree, but that's your bag. I'm not, whatever. But it's like, how can I do a cool flip with the strap? And I'm like, that's not what a strap is. It's supposed to be about fucking killing a guy.
Yeah, and then they did, and then for Danielson to win via choking him out and Ricky to not tap out, which
kept Ricky strong.
Was awesome.
It's great. Which is why it really, really sucks that they're wasting him with Big Bill, even if they are the fucking champs.
All right. Next up,
4.
My number 4 pick. This one, there are matches, ladies and gentlemen, in history, and I'm talking like all wrestling history, that you kind of wish you watched live, or that you were so honored that you got to see it that night of, like going back to Eli's talking about, not just hearing the hype, but experiencing it the first time. And for a little over a year, we've been wanting one match because it was supposed to happen, but then an injury derailed it. And then when a certain someone announced his retirement tour, we were finally going to get it. And the question was, could it live up to the hype? And the answer was yes, ladies and gentlemen, which is why I was honored to get to watch Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr.
What do you know? That's my 4 too.
Want to talk about it together then?
Yeah, let's go.
Wait, no, that's not my 4.
well, me and him will just talk about it, and then we'll go to you, and then we can just go on to number 3.
Because, as I know Eli appreciates, there are absolutely different kinds of wrestling. There's hard hitting, there's technical, there's high flying, there's submission wrestling in its basic form. And Zack Sabre, it was not about who could hit each other the hardest. It was about who could out technical
fucking grappling.
Grappling.
And I love fucking grappling.
And this was absolutely masterclass of
the 2 grappling vegans.
Yes.
I don't know if they're both Marxists too. I know one is, but the grappling vegans.
I'm not going to hate any guy who likes Groucho. Anyway, if anybody gets that reference, I appreciate you. But this match was just grappling and technical mastery, reversal upon reversal upon reversal, working the limbs. They went for submissions, which is great, but they also went for the strikes, and the crowd was into it. The commentary was great. Nigel McGuinness, give that man his flowers for his hatred of Bryan Danielson.
Fucking clam digger. Oh, speaking of StarCast,
Rams.
I mentioned to Nigel, I still like how you play up the hatred of Brian. When I met him, he was like, "Yeah, fucking clam dig, I can't stand him."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this was.
Yeah. Oh, my personal favorite is, oh yeah, Brian is absolutely clicking all cylinders. Oh yeah, that's right. Exactly. I hear that every time his bone moves, it clicks. It's like, gosh dang it, man. But this match was everything. Like, we have heard, and I will always hate on WWE for this over the last few years. Yes, including some with Triple H in charge. But they built up the idea of dream matches, and they absolutely underdeliver almost every time. And then this one comes along. It's like, this is the dream match. This is Zack Sabre at his peak, his prime, and Danielson, who's still got it and has got the veterans experience. Can they pull it off? Yes! Yes, they can!
See, and that's, it's funny you mentioned, because, you know, you talk about dream matches. See, that's something I kind of don't like. I don't like matches just being, well, it's a dream match. Well, it's a dream match. Well, it's a dream match. Like, I like that. That's like one of my, like, I hate that trope in wrestling. Like,
I respect that.
I you know, like, hey, it can be a dream match and you can build something. Like, make there be a storyline reason that leads to the dream match. So I really don't like dream match. But, like, this is, like, to show how good it was, this is like one where, like, I'm okay with this trope because this end game is good. Or could be good. Probably we could shit the bed. I'm not like these internet fans that already are chanting this is awesome before the match begins, because the match hasn't happened yet. You don't know, but
sometimes it does fail.
Yeah, or just that's something else, but that's neither here nor there. But this lived up to the hype. You know, I said this and old school stuff is like my favorite kind of wrestling. So yeah.
And for them to do this on a let's be honest, it was Wrestle Dream is a tribute show. It was a tribute show to Inoki, who was, of course, one of the best technical wrestlers, and the guy who loved that kind of grappling style. And you know,
which is a big can of worms we could talk about. We could talk about one day.
Leave it alone. It's another show. But this match just delivered. And the only bad thing about it is I felt so bad for the matches that had to come after. And hey, they lived up to the hype. They did. I mean, I was so surprised that show carried as well as it did, even with this match being potentially, I thought for sure they would do this like they did Brian Okada at Forbidden Door, make this the main event, but they didn't. I respect that they didn't.
Yeah, I get what them. I'm with you on that. I kind of compare it to WrestleMania 25 in the sense it's like, I get why you didn't make Bryan and Taker the main event. Like, you have a good reason, but hindsight 2020, you probably should have, you know?
Yeah, I know why they didn't, because of that certain arrival, and they obviously didn't want anything to be overshadowing that, which played well for them because of like YouTube views and all that stuff. But this was the match of the night. I mean, I love the match. I love that card, so I'll talk about it later. But this was the match, and only trolls and haters hate this match. Like, that's legit. All right, if you hate this match,
hey, I don't agree with them disliking the match, but I'll never say that, because some people just don't like grappling, and that's their prerogative. Just like I don't like flips. I've been called an idiot for not liking Young Bucks Will Ospreay flips. You know, I won't ever make a bold statement like that, because it's their wrestling's big. This is the part of wrestling I like. It may not be what, you know, that guy likes, or that guy likes, or that girl likes.
Yeah.
So I won't say only trolls and haters hate it or dislike it. They may not like grappling.
Sometimes, though, it really does. Because like when a really good match happens and you see someone bashing, I'm like,
that's not their taste.
It's not their taste, I guess.
I thought I had what I thought was a really good match, and you on this list, and you didn't like it, so.
I do want to say, I'm really glad we could agree that this was not only just on our list, but at the same spot. Yeah, that's really nice.
Really nice. I know later you're not gonna lie. You're gonna be disappointed in something that's not on my list.
That's not on your list? Well, that doesn't mean much. I mean, like I said,
not even an honorable mention.
Well, then that's taste, man. That's taste.
And that's their taste if they dislike that match. But I still thought it was amazing. All right, Easy, you got number 4.
All right, so for my number 4, it actually follows up with the events of Elimination Chamber. It's Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and the Usos. So, yeah, I guess whatever. I really can't add anything else to what Todd mentioned earlier about like why this match was amazing. Like, again, just the storytelling wise, this was just perfect, and not just a glorious victory for Canada and French Canada, but it was still like a really good tag team match. And yes, night one, hands down, was incredible. And I also do want to point out on one little part from the Rey Mysterio Dominic Mysterio match that I didn't really give two shits about it much, but I do like the fact that we heard Viva La Raza again at WrestleMania. I'm like, oh my god, I literally like I hear that, I'm like, I'm trying not to cry here. Holy shit. How do you go from Snoop Dogg to suddenly I hear Viva La Raza? I'm like, what the hell's happening? And then it goes to Rey Mysterio's theme, which like I love it, but I wish he just could have just entered out with Viva La Raza and that's it.
Okay.
I know.
So we're
I know. I'm talking about another match here, but anyways, yeah, with Owen Zayn Usos WrestleMania match, that was the highest tag team match that I have on this list at number 4.
All right, so we're to number 3, Todd.
Okay.
I know we're probably not going to tie on this one.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. All right, this one, man, this one almost was not just number 2, but it could have been number 1.
This is 3. We're on 3.
I know that.
Oh.
I'm saying it could have been.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that part.
I said it could have been. Like, it was that good. I'm talking, of course, about Hangman Swerve 2 Texas Death Match.
Hey!
Yeah, see, I knew you liked that one, Easy. This match.
Sorry, mine was at 9, but again, it's like...
Yeah, I forgive you. I forgive you. But this match, oh my gosh, because I loved the first one at Wrestle Dream. Like, Wrestle Dream cooked. But this was like, how can we make it even better? Like, the first one...
How can you make it bloodier?
How can you make it bloodier? How can you make it... Oh my gosh, I'm actually watching this and possibly have mental problems because I'm enjoying it this much. This is the John Wick 3 and 4 of wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. You shouldn't like the violence, but you really do. And
this is why CJ isn't in this video.
I'm just saying, I literally watched John Wick 3 before this, and I'm feeling it. Like, I'm feeling the parallels here. But this match was just so good. I mean, first of all, Swerve coming out to the dances and everything, like full Prince Nana, which I know someone hates because he's a heathen, but the us mature people love to swerve when we drive, and him just coming out. Talk about aura. Swerve has aura. Swerve is that dude. All right, he is him. And coming out, and they're like, okay, can't wait for Hangman's entrance, and he's like, no, screw the entrance. I'm gonna fight this dude right now. And it was bloody with like what, a minute or two, because they did not hold back. There's always a question, and I'll give this prod to both AEW and WWE. How bloody do you make it? Like, when do you get the bloodiness? You know, sometimes they have street fights that don't have any reason being a street fight because they don't use anything. And
how much hepatitis do you want to give these wrestlers?
It's up. They signed consent forms.
That's true.
But they did. But this was like, hey, let's just go full tilt. Let's go nuts. Like the staple gun. Oh my gosh, that staple gun bit was just great. Like stapling the kid art that he tore up when Swerve invaded the house was great. And then Swerve stapling himself later just to show he was immune to it. Like that was great. Hangman drinking the blood was a little much. Even that's where
the match kind of lost me. Like I liked it a lot.
I know. It's just like
you can just like go back to our Full Gear video to hear all my thoughts on it because I said all that needed to be said for me that night.
I know, but it's just like there was like, you don't do that to a dude unless you're trying to say like F off. You're never gonna be rid of me. You know, Legend of Zorro, Anthony Hopkins, ladies and gentlemen. There's a reference for you. You'll never be rid of me. You'll never be rid of me. And it was bloody. It was violent. I loved every minute of it. Honestly, I mean, we talked about the Full Gear video. This was the match of the night. It was incredible. Swerve won decisively. Hanging the Hangman was an excellent visual.
That's a good play on right there. The sheer irony is you beat Hangman by hanging him.
Yeah, and remember, Hangman in AEW was undefeated in the Texas Death Match, and he got hung by Swerve. And that made the win more impactful. And it said, okay, this dude's gonna be our AEW World Champ more than likely in 2024, and everyone's betting that. Like that is like the biggest Vegas safe bet ever. Swerve's gonna be a champion, the champion AEW in 2024, and this match cemented him as that dude. And if it wasn't for my other two matches, this easily could have been match of the year, which just goes to show how much I loved the other two matches. So there you go.
All right, EC.
Okay, so from number 3, we're going to go to Grand Slam with Eddie Kingston and Claudio Castagnoli, with Eddie Kingston winning the Ring of Honor World Championship on an AEW show. Now, I make this higher on the list at number 3 because just watching this on TV, this was just pure Eddie Kingston amazingness. But finally, he wins a major championship on television, no less. And it's the ROH World Championship, and especially right in his backyard in New York. Well, I forget which area he's from, but anyways. But just for
Yonkers.
him, winning... He's from where?
Yonkers.
He's from Yonkers.
Yonkers. Okay, that's what I thought. I didn't want to... I couldn't remember if it was Yonkers or he actually was from Queens, but whatever. But anyways. But yeah. Eddie just, winning it in New York City was just awesomeness. It's just... It's... I don't know. You just gotta watch the match. It's just pure amazingness. And I nearly put him on my list of either most improved or breakout star, but unfortunately, he did not make the cut. Having said that, though, this was definitely maybe one of his best years in wrestling, having been ROH champion, New Japan Strong Openweight, and now he won the Continental Classic. Yeah, okay, I'm going to kick myself on why the hell did I not put him on my most improved or breakout star, but whatever.
He already broke out last year, so I can understand that one.
Fair, but still.
I wouldn't say it was a breakout star because that makes it sound like last year he didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he totally did. I mean, Eddie's been, when was it, 2020 he first
Yeah, he came in during COVID. He's about ready to quit wrestling until, Cody Rhodes said, you want to come in? Do this thing? And then he didn't quit wrestling.
I was, beyond speechless. I was like, wait, Eddie Kingston on AEW? Holy shit, I love this world. At the time, but anyways. So, but, yeah, just... It almost looked like, he, finally just needed something to have a purpose. I guess that's the best way to put it. It's like a purpose on belonging to a major wrestling promotion because a certain company, they don't really want him because they don't want to hire a bum or whatever and whatnot. But, we just know about, Eddie Kingston's backstory. It's the dude's just been to hell and back. And I think this was just crowning achievement. And hopefully, maybe... we will transition more. Maybe he's going to get another chance at maybe the AEW World Championship, or if not that, maybe TNT Championship. We'll see. Small steps here.
I want to say about this match, one of the reasons I like this was because him and Claudio were having a feud in Chikara back in, from starting in 2008, and then it went to 2011. And it ended with Claudio winning when we thought Eddie was going to win. And then it didn't get to play out in Chikara because Claudio went to WWE. So by having them both in the same company, we got to actually
You got the closure.
Yeah, I got some closure of something that I was left hanging with in my independent wrestling viewing back in 2011. So that's why I'm glad this match happened. And they had to... The storyline in Chikara was about they don't respect each other. And at the very end of this match, they worked that in. So kudos for allowing that to happen.
Yeah, this would have been definitely one of my honorable mentions for Eddie to finally get that win. I mean, he got the New Japan title, which is his first singles title in a long time, and then if ever. And then he got Ring of Honor, and then he put him on the line. Said, "I'm betting on myself." And then he won a Continental Classic. I mean, if we're going to talk about overall incredible year, Eddie is definitely one of the contenders because of just how much he's done all over the world. So, and Grand Slam was a great moment. You're Eddie's got to win this. He's got to win this, and he does. And it's the crowd loved it. I loved it. Awesome.
Yeah, it's even cooler when you know that Taz was even cheerleading on Eddie. It's that's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, if only we could talk about that Ring of Honor television show we've been begging for.
Yeah.
You never know.
Pay,
2024.
paywall dark, as I like to call it.
Yeah, we'll see. All right.
Number 3 for me is Sonata versus Kaito Kiyomiya from the G1 Climax. This is kind of like one, it's not like really a big, don't have like a lot of like big backstory on it. But Kaito Kiyomiya was actually not with New Japan. He's from Pro Wrestling Noah, but they have a working relationship currently, and he's decided to enter the G1 Climax. Actually, he did not enter Noah's big tournament to enter the G1 Climax. And the main reason, like, it was a great match, like, all around. But the reason that I remembered this match and loved it so much was the ending to this match was so, like, had to be so perfect to pull off, and they pulled it off. There was, like, this big finishing sequence to try, to lead to the end of the match. And it's like the clock is ticking down, and, they're not embellishing. Like, the clock is ticking down. The clock is ticking down. This is going to be a draw. The time limit's going to happen. And Sonata beats Kiyomiya after this big sequence with 1 second remaining.
Damn.
And just to me, like, I'm just like, that's amazing. The fact that they pulled that off, that like the drama was so high, it's like, oh my God, it's going to be a draw. Is a Noah guy going to take the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion to a draw? Like, that's as bad as losing for the IWGP Champion, because part of the whole thing with Kiyomiya is all the New Japan guys are like, yeah, that's neat you're here, but we're New Japan. Like, we're the top. You're in, we're the professionals and you're the junior league. Like, you're good, but you're junior league. This is New Japan Pro Wrestling. And you were heartbroken for Kiyomiya, who's trying to, who's coming in not with like a chip on his shoulder so much, is just like, I want to prove myself, but I still love my company. And the New Japan guys are like, yeah, you're them though. And you're heartbroken for Kiyomiya because even just taking it to a draw would have been great, but he got pinned with 1 second remaining.
That's pretty cool. All right. My we're at top 2 now. Here we go. My number 2 was my number 1 for about a month. Probably less, which shows what match is my number 1. But my number 2 is the 4 Pillars Fatal 4-Way match.
That's my number 2.
Then let's talk about it.
You guys can talk about it, because I have something different as number 2.
Oh, I'm sure you do. But yes, I know a lot of people crapped on like the build up to this match. I think they overblew that. We wanted, like, I even said like a week before they started the build up, like, man, now is the time with Revolution done. Now is the time to do the 4 Pillars match. Like,
I was gonna say, like, it was gonna come full circle at some.
Yeah, it had to. Like, they built it up. It was canon. There was story. They had all been champions in one form or another, singles or tag team. And the question was, could they pull this off together? And the answer was heck yeah. And the only crime of that match was that it was a co-main event and not ending the show. Because don't get me wrong, I loved Anarchy in the Arena this year, just like I did last year. But
I'll talk about that later. But anyways,
it doesn't matter. But like, this match was 30 minutes of wrestling awesomeness from 4 and still very young futures of the industry, no matter where they are. As I said that, no matter where they are. And ironically, bringing this full circle to where we are right now, it's the exact opposite of what WWE is about to do with the Royal Rumble. Because they decided, hey, let's put 4 40-year-olds together, even though we know that match result, just because we can. And AEW is like, no, we're going to show you the future of the wrestling world and show why they're the future of the wrestling world. And they absolutely pulled it off. There was so much to love in that match, from the initial team up against MJF, and then doing the finishing moves of all of their mentors was a really cool spot. The question of, will Jack Perry, do what needs to be done to win, and he couldn't, which is a build-up, of course, for later. And MJF winning with the title on the front of Jungle Boy while Darby splashed him, only to do the side headlock takedown, reference to their Full Gear match. And coming away with the win was absolutely hilarious. A perfect MJF move because it was before he was face MJF. He was
ending, actually, yeah.
That was a great ending.
Awesome.
That was a heck of an ending. And again, for 30 minutes, they killed it. And the question was, could they kill it? Sometimes you have to just put the young guns together and say, have at it. And they did.
Yes.
And for literally like 5 weeks or so, this is like, how is this going to be topped? And then it finally was. I'm like, darn.
I think everyone was even tempted. It's like, was this even going to happen? Because we were like, we might only just get one, or we're just going to get maybe 3 of them, or like, I don't know. I guess no one really thought, could we actually pull it off? Especially at AEW's first pay-per-view they ever did.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, this would have been number 1 if it weren't for the Anarchy in the Arena match, which I literally forgot that was even happening after that match because it was just incredible. And also, my one complaint with that Anarchy in the Arena was the music wouldn't shut the fuck up. I mean, granted, I didn't watch the 2022 event because I was at the Indy 500.
Gotcha.
So I didn't see it. I didn't know that that's what was going on, but it was still so damn distracting. And for someone who does have a learning disability and a mini ADHD, it was extremely distracting. I'm like, I don't care about the music. I want to watch this. I'm preventing myself from pressing the mute button because I just want to watch a fucking match.
Yeah. Focus on 4 pillars. Come on.
It was 4 pillars, yes. That was... Yeah, personally, in my opinion, like I said, it was. I'm just amazed that it was pulled off, and again, should have been the main event, but it was just perfect, and this honestly just captivated MJF's incredible 2023 year that he had, which I may or may not talk about later.
Yeah,
but that's my number 2, and I would. You know what? I want to see a sequel of this. I think they could do this one more time. Just maybe at a different pay-per-view.
It would have to be, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, it would have to be done the right way.
Yeah. You can't just say, hey, there the pillars go again.
Yeah, because this was special.
And also on top of that, I'm completely over one of the pillars, so
I'm pretty sure I can guess which one. But you don't need a symphony to calculate which that one that is. But this would have to be done the right way with the proper build-up. This worked because there was a lot of events going on at the time that allowed that match to happen. And also, it was one of the quickest face turns in history when Sammy, as a heel, still came out, revealed, hey, I'm having a baby, and the crowd went nuts for it. Because, how do you not cheer for that? Come on! It's
also, a quick side note, congrats for him and Ty to have an awesome baby girl. So, so Papa Sammy, you also had a great 2023.
Yeah. The problem I have with what she says, I think you threw a pretty big boulder in a glass house if you're criticizing old people being on top in one company.
No, I'm not. I find it was a very interesting, what's the word? Reflection? Nah. Inverse? There we go. Inverse. I like that. Yeah. No, I am generally okay with that match because it is a good match for the Royal Rumble, but it's just
and AEW's world champion, I love Joe. He's currently the same age as all those guys. So
this is true.
Yeah. So I have number 2.
Number 2.
My number 2 is Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada from AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door.
Wow, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, oh no, I love this match. I liked it better than the match that I was supposed to like that happened before this, because it was more my style of wrestling, and I didn't think it overstayed its welcome.
Wait, which match? Are you talking about Ospreay?
Yeah.
Okay.
The match that you're supposed to like if you're online. I love this match. I felt it lived up to the hype. It was my style of wrestling. It was technical wrestling. It's proof of how I feel about wrestling with less is more, especially like Okada is the living embodiment of less is more. One of his big moves is a drop kick. The drop kick is a big move for him because he knows how to work it in. I thought it was a great match.
Clothesline. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah, his finisher is a clothesline, and one of his big moves is a drop kick. When Okada hits the drop kick, it's holy shit, he hit the drop kick. But anyway, that was a great match. More technically sound, more my style, more of something that I would enjoy compared to other matches, not that happen, not just on this card, but that just in general happen. And the thing I like the most about it, Bryan Danielson won. Well, going into this, if I was a gambling man, I would have put it all on Okada, but it didn't happen. It was a good subversion of, subversion of expectations is always a nice buzzword when something happens and they justify the, it being different than what you want. That's the good internet buzzword in geek culture is, well, that was a good subversion of expectations.
I thought Bryan would win. What surprised me, not besides the fact that he did 10 minutes of the match with a broken freaking arm, which, my gosh, man. What he won't do for wrestling. Wrestle with an eye patch? I can do that. Wrestle bleeding? I can do that. Wrestle with a broken arm? Sure!
Yeah, but I mean, because I didn't know if they were going to do a rematch. I thought this was kind of like, especially with Bryan, everything with Bryan Danielson, even before he announced that this was going to be the end of his career, or in his active career, like, anytime Bryan does something with how fragile he is, I'm like, enjoy it. He might get hurt again. So, I kind of thought, this was good. I thought this was going to be the Okada match. But then when he won, I'm like, there's going to be another one.
Oh, it was good, apparently.
Yeah. I like this one more than the one that just happened, personally.
Interesting.
And that's not a slight on the one that just happened. I just like this one more because, again, in a world where everybody wants to subvert expectations because, this was a good way of doing it. And they pulled it off well. And they didn't do it on a big move. He didn't win with the label lock. He didn't win with cattle mutilation. He didn't win with a running knee. He didn't win by kicking Okada's fucking head in. No. He pulled out something and then a new hold that he doesn't use all the time and just won.
Yeah. I think that's actually, and that was easily an honorable mention on my list, as well as the 65-minute Iron Man match with MJF. There's just so many good matches this year. There really was. But, and a lot with Bryan. But that the way that it ended with that surprise tap out was just like, wait a minute, Okada tapped out to that?
Yep.
Like, that took me aback. And, of course, obviously part of it was because of the broken arm. But that made it even better. Then when I saw, the next day that Okada hadn't tapped out in, 8 years, that meant something.
Yep, it meant something. There was a story. There's a story being in place. It was good. AEW, I'll be blunt and piss everybody off. AEW in their storytelling has gone from impeccable to extremely hit and miss. I'd even say more misses than hits right now. But this was a hit. Yeah. All right, match of the year, and I know what Todd's is going to be.
That match could have been higher if it weren't for the fact that I was just so fucking tired by the main event.
All right, go match of the year. I think it's both the years. I know what it is for Todd. Go ahead.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. The first of the final countdowns, the first of the final matches. And, of course, my match of the year is Rush versus Jay Lethal Continental Classic. Now, why was this 6-minute match my match of the year? I'm just joking. I'm joking.
I know, because I know what your match of the year is. We haven't even talked about it, but I know what it is.
Yeah. All hail the internet people. It's Kenny Ospreay 2 from Forbidden Door.
Yes! My number one!
Overrated! Oh, sorry, half frog in my throat. Sorry.
Join me easy, and we will rule this podcast together.
Let's go!
Let's go! Let's effing go! All right, look.
How the fuck do we have same number 1 and 2? What the hell?
Because some people just have taste, and then there's Eli.
No, I have taste, which is why I don't have this overrated monstrosity as my number 1.
Here we go. Anyway, but the reason I like this match was twofold. First of all, again, I liked the WK match that was on my list at 8, but this one spoke to me on a much better level, on a much deeper level. Eli keeps talking about, what wrestling styles resonate with people. I don't mind old school wrestling. I do prefer the new school style where, it's move after move after move and hit after hit after hit. And you think you can keep me down with this move? You ain't got crap on me. And this match just spoke to that. They said after Wrestle Kingdom that we held back, which is hilarious when you really think about it. They're like, no, we're saving more for the next match. And we're like, what have you got to beat that? And then they're like, we'll show you. And they did. And you talk about the Tiger Driver 91 move that almost decapitated Kenny Omega, and yet he kept going.
Yeah.
You could talk about the multiple finishers that they did. You could talk about the fighting spirit kick out from Kenny after Will hit the one-winged angel, and the crowd losing their gosh dang minds. 16,000 people losing it over this match, and I was
Well,
feeling
it's Toronto for you.
yeah. There you go, Canada, and multiple matches with Canada on this list for a lot of us. But this was just you could feel it. You could feel the energy. You could feel the intensity, and you're almost like, is Ospreay actually going to pull this off? Like you talked about it with Sammy Roman. Mine was like, is Ospreay actually going to pull this off? Because it felt that way. It's like you're going and saying Ospreay has to win this. He has to win this for New Japan. He has to bring the belt back home, and it was something we and Eli talked about earlier in the year, but earlier last year. But you wondered, especially after the Fighting Spirit kick out, you're like, is this finally going to go Ospreay's way? Because you had to wonder. You had to wonder, and then he pulled it out. It was awesome. Crowd loved it. Epic match. And for me, just the way the style, the hard hittingness, the counters, and a friend of mine who I honestly adore and trust is like, but the Don Callis thing. Of course, Don Callis was going to get involved again.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the one that I'm going to say, because I said I was going to save this for later. You had a problem with that in the Cody match. Why don't you have a problem with it here?
Because I'll tell you why.
Because it's Omega and Ospreay in an AEW ring?
No. Technically, I consider that a fusion ring. Let's be honest here, because that was two promotions at once. All right, here's why. I'll tell you why. When Don came out to interfere the second time after being banned, that was right about when Ospreay was about to hit One Winged Angel. So he distracted him enough to get the One Winged Angel win, or hit. The match didn't end there. The match went multiple minutes after the Don Callis interference. If Don Callis had caused the win for Ospreay, I absolutely would agree with you. Four Pillars probably would have been my top one. Mm-hmm. The difference is that with the Cody Roman match, Sikoa was banned. He came out, got the spike on Cody, and then 10 seconds later was when the match ended. So he, not Roman, won the match. Ospreay had to win that on his own. Callis did not interfere after that one point.
Because that was the point in the match for me, where it went from not a top 10, but like, okay, I dig it, it may be an honorable mention, to that was the point in the match, along with the 10,000 kickouts, for me going, yep, nope.
Yeah. But see, I'll counter that by like people saying like, you know, when they watch Roman and Brock go at each other, they do like kick out after infinite amounts of F5s and spears, and they're like, oh, this is majestic, this is cinema. And I'm like, no, it's not, because it's supposed to be.
I put those matches the same amount of stars as I would this one.
Thank you, and I'm glad. I appreciate that consistency. But for me, like, this mattered because this was so much more than a match. This was more than a title. This was about proving themselves. It was just not like how Ospreay had to prove himself against Okada, who he finally beat in 2023, and going to all these different places to face wrestlers to prove that he was the best. He couldn't do any of that if he didn't beat Kenny. He went on a tear after that match because he finally beat Kenny. He was finally on the top of the world in many respects, and this match showed why he is the best in the world, or at very least one of the best. And I will never be able to get over this match because of how many classic moments and memories that this gave me.
Yeah. And on a side note, on my end, I was at the AEW Dynamite show, like when Aussie Open and Ospreay, they were fighting with Death Triangle, and then, you know, the Elite come out, they have a little hilarious little like post-match or even like post-show promo match.
That was hilarious.
Incredible. Oh my god, in person was even better. But it's like, yeah, like people know who I was, well, people are still trying to look up who you are and blah 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 and all that fun stuff. No, just watch the promo, it's hilarious. But anyhow, but now on my end, this was the first time in my eyes that I actually have watched an Ospreay Omega match on television, whether it's pay-per-view or just a fight, just anything. Like, the sheer emotion, that was the one thing that captivated me. It's like the storytelling and the raw emotion that everyone was having. It was just like, it got to the point where it's like, I honestly didn't give a shit who was going to win. I like Ospreay. I like Omega. I wish Kenny had won it. But, you know, Ospreay had won it. And it just, what do you say? And that's, I think, when I just got like insanely drained from the rest of the show, because like, oh shit, we still got like 2 more matches to go. How do you top this? It's just insane. It was like I forget, there wasn't a title on the line, was there? I don't think there was.
The IWGP US title.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. That's right.
Which is now the global title.
Yes. Okay. Oh,
actually, it's not. It's not now. I'm going to be a little pedantic.
Cool.
It's not now. That belt was retired, and then they just said, "Hey, here's the global title." because Will
whatever.
Ospreay didn't want to hold a belt that
Whatever.
said the United States on it.
Either way.
So he threw it
We-
away
we
to
bring-
hold
the
a British
and the
title,
Canadians,
and then
would have some
he
answers
threw
about
the
that.
U.S. title away, saying, "I'm not going to hold a belt with the American flag on it. I'm British." Yes, that was the
Bruh.
story. And then he had a belt that said UK champion, and then Dave Finlay smashed both of them with a hammer, and then New Japan just went, "Here's the belt now. It's the global title."
Yeah. But yeah, just everything that was just on the line here was just incredible. Also, Ospreay, for the love of God, never ever come out true, like, bunch of, like, police sirens or whatnot. I was like, really? Like, riot in Toronto? I'm like,
Well,
anyway.
there was a story reason for that. They gave a reason for that, because he hates Canada. In character, he hates Canada.
Finally, something me and Ospreay are on the same page about. I'm just kidding. He's just-
All right.
Anyways.
All right, so
but
my
yeah.
number one.
Yeah, at least my
Are
country
we-
hasn't invaded people. But anyhow,
Woo!
no, that's a global burden to the UK. At least Canada didn't invade countries. But anyhow,
All right,
Um,
Caleb.
So we ready for number one, or are
Okay,
you still
Yes,
going?
go number one. Go.
go.
All right,
I'm-
my number one was MJF versus Bryan Danielson from AEW Revolution.
Nice.
Because
Nah.
you say that's how you felt about that match. I mean, that's fine. I mean, and unless we want to be assholes, I'll accept that. But this was everything I loved about wrestling in a match. This was technical grappling. This was tremendous storytelling. This was old school brawling. This to me was, I'd say, not just top match of the year, but maybe top 5 of all time for me.
Wow.
Yeah, this was, if you could in 2020, like, not 2023, but just every bit of wrestling I've watched in my life, if you could say, do something that, name matches that embody what you love about pro wrestling, this is in there. This is up there with Taker and Shawn at WrestleMania 25. This is up there with Cody and Aldis at All In. This is up there with, Omega Okada for me. Omega Okada Dominion 2018. Like, it's in that conversation.
Okay.
Like I said, it did everything that I love about pro wrestling. It had a story. It wasn't just, hey, let's go out there and have a banger because it's going to bang. And it'll be better than what that other company did because this match banged. It wasn't just about, it did, but it had something to it. There was a personal story. There was something that I bought into. Bryan Danielson's maybe my number 2 favorite wrestler of all time. I wanted to see him win the championship. And MJF, before he turned to the good side of things, I loved him in that character because he was finally a bad guy that's meant to be hated. Not like, oh, he does this and that's so neat and that's so cool. Like, he was meant to not get those reactions, and that's something I like. And he was playing that up, and he was that guy in this match. In the match and in the build-up to the match. Him getting himself disqualified in order to get an advantage, and it's telling a story. It was maybe it's the best Iron Man match that ever happened, in my opinion. If I could point to a match and go, what do you love about pro wrestling? Go watch this. Everything they did made sense. Everything they did in the match had a purpose. And because you're supposed to, at that time, hate MJF, the fucking gall of this piece of shit, awful human being to use the LeBell Lock to beat Bryan Danielson, fuck him. But man, was it great.
It was a great match, and in fact, I almost feel bad that I didn't put on this list because I was just trying to think, all the matches I've seen a few that how did I miss that one? I'm like, well, there was other ones that maybe meant a little more to me, but that was absolutely incredible match, and the fact that they did the whole 60 minutes and then 5 minutes more, and then it ended the way it did, it was good. It was great stuff, and that was the start of MJF going, you know what? I'm going to show you how I can do.
I was already liking
a
MJF as champion already, despite like the internet as a whole kind of hating on him because like well, he's not having the quality of matches that an AEW that is befitting of an AEW World Champion.
Well,
First of all, fuck you. First of all, fuck you. If that's what you're saying. Second of all, yeah, he is, and yeah, he can, and yeah, he will.
Yeah, my problem was that, and they even kind of poked fun at this, was that he was doing, and I don't mean this as an insult, the Roman Reigns approach of, I'll show up eventually and do a title match.
But I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that in wrestling. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with Roman Reigns doing it if he just showed up, like, a little bit more. I like that.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel that there should be at least once.
But you also got to remember, I think I didn't watch it when it was happening. But sure. I watched a lot of territory stuff where, Flair didn't come around all the time. You had to wait for when Flair would show up, and it may be a couple months before Flair comes back to St. Louis or Memphis.
Yeah.
So that's like, so that's kind of, I want to say I was raised on it, but like I've watched enough of it to go like, I like that.
But I understand, like, for this one, like, this was really, for me, the beginning of MJF is one of the best there is, because he did this match, then he did 4 Pillars, then he did the Tanahashi match, which, Easy Love, and then he did a match with Ethan Page, which was very, very good. Then he went, again, then he goes against Joe.
Nope, I forgot to do my honorable mentions, because I just went into my first one. I was going to do all my honorable mentions.
Go ahead, just run them off.
All right, so these first few... These first ones are ones where if we were doing a bigger list, they would have been on the list. Hangman Swerve, Full Gear, Sammy KO Usos, Mania Night 1, FTR, Jay and Juice, Collision. One that I thought was an amazing match, Andrade and Buddy Matthews on Collision. Thought that was a really good one.
Oh, yeah.
Cody and Jay versus KO and Sammy on Raw. I thought it was like one of the best TV main events this year. Seth and Nakamura from Payback. Rhea and Charlotte from WrestleMania 39.
That was a good one.
Kingston and Claudio for the ROH title. Naito Ospreay, G1 Climax semifinals. And this one just because I was there.
Wait, go back. Naito was the final.
Against Okada.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Naito.
He was in the Naito and Ospreay were in the semifinals for Naito to advance to the finals of the G1 Climax, and he wrestled Kazuchika Okada there.
You sure? Because I thought Ospreay beat Okada to get to the final against Naito, and then Naito beat Ospreay.
Naito beat Ospreay in the. I'll look it up, but I'm very sure it was.
You keep going. I'll look it up.
Okay.
I'll look it up. Because I really thought that was how it went. But keep going.
Okay, and last one, Mox and Orange Cassidy from All Out, just because I was there. That was an amazing story. That one would maybe be like 11, maybe with some bias because I was in the crowd. Now here's all the other matches I really liked this year. So hold on. Cody Lesnar at Backlash. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest at Backlash. I had a lot of fun with that match. I love Bad Bunny and how much he loves pro wrestling and how much effort he gives to the pro wrestling. Both the Royal Rumble matches, Blood and Guts, Anarchy in the Arena, the Stadium Stampede, MJF and Cole It All In, Asuka and Bianca from WrestleMania, Roman Sammy Elimination Chamber, Taichi and Ospreay in the G1 Climax, only because my boy Taichi beat Will Ospreay. Maybe not a great technical wrestling masterpiece, but my boy Taichi beat Ospreay, so I love that. Eddie and Dave Finlay in the G1 Climax, the G1 Climax finals with Okada, or semifinals. Sanada versus Yota Tsuji from Dominion. Keep your eye on Yota Tsuji in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's great. Both the Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal matches, both the Continental Classic and the, I read that wrong, RIPJ. Mark Briscoe versus Jay Lethal, Jay Briscoe Tribute, and Continental Classic. Gunther versus Chad Gable on Raw, where we established that Gunther would be the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. Becky versus Trish in the cage match at Payback. Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyrie from NXT Halloween Havoc. Eddie versus Bryan in the regular Continental Classic. Usos versus Roman and Sola from Money in the Bank. Both War Games matches from Survivor Series. Omega versus Takeshita from All Out. MJF versus Omega on Collision. And Master Wato versus Teton in the Best of the Super Junior Finals. Oh, and Christian versus Darby at WrestleDream. Those are all the other matches I really like this year.
All right, I do have an answer to the G1 question. We were both right, but I was out of order. Ospreay did beat Okada in the climax, but he lost to him in the semifinal, which led to Okada versus Naito. So I apologize.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He lost to Naito in the semis. Naito beat Ospreay in the semis, which led to Naito versus Okada in the finals. The AFC Championship game was Naito and Ospreay essentially.
It does feel like that, doesn't it? All right. So we get to the other.
So now we have the last part of it, which is our most improved wrestler of the year. Todd, go first.
I'm going to go with a pick that I know a lot of people will say, just because of how she literally transformed over the course of this year, which is Julia Hart. Julia Hart went from they have a cheerleader with the Varsity Blondes. Okay, and who the F is Griff Garrison, ladies and gentlemen? You could say he's got an edge over the other young guns. But collision joke, deal with it. But when she got into House of Black, it's like, okay, but what are they really doing with her? You know, like, oh, she's got the dark look and everything. And then over the course of 2023, they started to show, like, no, she's really something. Like, she's going to be really, really great. They gave her, like, that no DQ match against Anna Jay. They gave her the new entrance theme. They had Brody, like, looming over her to add to her presence. And seriously, that new theme song is like, it's chills. Like, seriously, it's really good. How they like do the camera angles with her on that, and the house always wins, you know, and all that. And then fast forward to Wrestle Dream. She didn't win that night, but when she was going up for her moonsault, everyone was on their feet thinking, oh my gosh, Julia's about to win this. Like, Julia, they're going to give it to Julia tonight. And they didn't, but that's how far she had progressed. That they were ready for Julia to be champion. And even though her 2023 didn't end on the best note with that moonsault, hey, first of all, Charlotte has botched her moonsault, and Charlotte's one of the best in the world, period. All right? So, but Julia has absolutely become one of the key parts of the women's division, and she's still really, really young. She's like 22? Something like that. So she's still got a long way to go. So give her even a little more time. She could probably dominate this industry. But I love her as TBS champion. Great with the House of Black. Absolute standout of the year for the women's division. I look forward to seeing what they do with her next.
Does she get a women's championship match this year?
What, say it again?
Does she get a women's championship match this year?
Like the world title?
Yeah.
It depends on who the champion is.
I say not this year, maybe next.
Not next year. I like her being the TBS champion because it gives them a little freedom, especially as we just saw with World's End. They did a little bit of a risk with the Abaddon match. Wasn't the best match, but I liked parts of what they did. Again, that night was just not AEW's night. That's just the truth until like the last three matches. But Julia is still great, as she just proved last night on Collision by doing that very creepy 10-bell salute to Rep TR, because that's how creepy this Princess of the Black Throne is. But world title match, not unless they get a face champion, and it would have to be the right face champion. So we'll see.
I want her to face in Tony Storm. You can have Anti-Hero versus whatever the hell Tony Storm is doing.
Well, they got better anti-heroes right now, if I'm being completely honest, and I just don't think it's the right match.
Yeah, it's not right. It's not the right time.
It's not the right time.
Easy, most improved.
Okay, my most improved, it might be a little bit of an odd choice, but personally, like, just booking-wise, I think he probably had the best ones-ish, but I don't know. Again, this is my list, and it is Swerve Strickland, actually.
Wow.
I go with that, yeah. I mean, I understand it, yeah.
Yeah. I thought, like, last year he just...
Not exactly how I think of it, but I get your logic, and I respect it, yeah.
But yeah, no, he just didn't really cusp it. I mean, and him and Keith Lee, you know, hey, they had a tag team thing going on, which was incredible. But then afterwards, it's just, how do you capitalize it more? Or, like, what do you do with Swerve? So then you just got him teaming with Mogul Embassy because reasons. But then later, I guess the booking decisions kind of got better for him, and he got kind of more over as a villain and such. And I honestly thought, you know what, that was actually a good way to improve a little bit Swerve. It was down between him and, of course, Eddie Kingston for just, like, finally getting him onto the top. But I thought Swerve, maybe, I guess, booking-wise, was better than Eddie.
Okay. My most improved. I have some honorable mentions for some of these just because I want to recognize certain people. We already talked about Julia Hart. You know, great job, great improvement there. And then I'm also going to say an honorable mention to Dominic Mysterio. I just like
that's fair.
Like he has gone from like, oh god, it's Dominic to like, wow, like it's oh god, it's Dominic, but it's in a good way because he plays that role so well.
Yeah,
and you know,
I can appreciate that.
He may not be what the internet considers good, but wrestling's bigger than just that, and he knows how to be a big star beyond with the reactions he gets. So honorable mention there, but my most improved for me is Master Wato from New Japan. And that's just based on his Best of the Super Juniors tournament performance. He came back from excursion in 2020 during, COVID, and that worked against him. And there was just a lot of times where I'm just like, I don't see what the big, like, I'm not really into this guy. Like, Master Wato match is kind of like, okay, I can fast forward, or unless, I just wasn't really into him. And then I watched the Best Super Juniors, and he won me over as much as he won that title, that tournament. So I'm going with Master Wato. He's now something I look forward to when I watch New Japan.
Nice.
Breakout Star is next.
All right, this one I'm going to pull a swerve on things and call it Swerve Strickland. Because when I think of Breakout Star, I think of the one if you look at him the year before and look at him where they are now, they aren't the same. They aren't even close to the same stratosphere. And that's where Swerve is. Swerve was tag team with Swerve in Our Glory, and I liked that. I really did. Then at the end, the end of that year, they pulled him, they're breaking up. Then at the beginning of 2023 with the original Mogul affiliates, which let's be just grateful that they're not around anymore. They're like, okay, Swerve's going to be one of the big villains. And then they kind of stumbled around because, things actually happened with the said affiliates, including injuries. And then they put him with Mogul Embassy, and everything started to take off, including, ironically, a match that he lost with All in London. Because he had 80,000 people saying, who's
72,000.
It was 81,035.
72,000 were in there. It was 72,000.
81,000.
It's 72,000 because an actual person that doesn't care about wrestling says that, so it's 72,000. It was 72,000.
Chanting whose house or his house.
Yeah, that's still a lot of people. 72,000. Yes.
Yeah, especially when you add the other 8,000, 9,000.
Yeah, the ones that weren't actually there, but Tony Khan said it, so hey, I guess it's true.
He has the receipts.
Yeah, the receipts, sure.
And then they're like, but we were waiting. We were waiting, after that moment. Because remember, he lost. He was the one who got put into the coffin, not Christian Cage. We're like, are they finally going to put him on that next level? And what did they do? They have him call it Hangman Page. And we're like, this is the match we didn't know we needed, but we need it. And then we got not one, but two great matches. And, oh, my gosh. I mean, his start would have been even better if we had gotten the Keith Lee match. And for the record, health is most important. Get well, Keith Lee. Keith Lee.
Don't book the match until you know he's fucking cleared.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to deny that. Like,
that was a failure on the owner's part.
Hold on, he stopped the match.
No, but he should have known. If you're not good, if there's ever a chance that he may not be cleared, don't do it. Don't even start it.
I'm not going to get into this until another debate. But even with what happened with Dustin, which just further pushed him higher, ironically enough, because of just how villainous he was and how Dustin, the ever professional, handled that match on such short notice. Again, the safest betting odds in Vegas, barring injury, is that Swerve is world champion at some point in 2024. If he's not the one who beats Joe, he'll be the one who beats the guy who beats Joe or something. They will not let this momentum go away because Swerve is him.
The only person that I could see maybe pushing Swerve down the card is their newest acquisition.
Okay, but I understand that. But
I'm not saying that like in a bad way. I'm saying that I can see it happening.
No, I understand. Here's my theory. This my prediction. Joe keeps it until Double or Nothing, so a nice 5-month reign. Okay, Swerve beats him at Double or Nothing. Then he runs the gauntlet until Ospreay beats him at All in London, so that the assassin is crowned in his home. That's my prediction, and a lot of people are saying that too. Swerve, Ospreay at All in London too.
Easy.
So might be an incredible controversial choice
Oh
here.
boy.
Because some of you might be wondering, how exactly was he breakout? But keep in mind, this particular superstar, unless you were insanely following their career that closely to the mainstream or even the casual wrestling fans, may not be closely knowing who he is until he had some goddamn great matches on pay-per-view. And it is Will Ospreay. Here's why.
Okay.
The midpoint of 2023, and I'm like looking through like how he was, the midpoint when he came out, he returned on AEW attacking Kenny Omega with a world title belt, which I freaked out maybe too much because holy shit, it's Ospreay. He just had maybe some incredible standout matches, and the fact that at Full Gear it was revealed that he signed a multi-year deal with AEW that starts in 2024. It's like, holy crap, we're going to be seeing a lot more of some Ospreay, which I know it's may or may not be fascinating geeks forte, but who cares? Anyhow, like, I think Ospreay just like broke out for me big time because I think it's like I now know more about him rather than I finally saw him in person at AEW Cleveland last in
You saw him at
2022.
Madison Square Garden.
I keep forgetting about that damn pay-per-view. Anyhow, at least I finally see him again in person for AEW. But the fact that now he's going to be like joining the company now, it's like he's going to have some goddamn great matches this year. So that's
I will say,
my hot take.
Everything you're saying makes sense because I do think that there's quite a few AEW fans that don't actually that didn't actually know Will Ospreay. They just knew gifts of Will Ospreay. They knew the hype, and I can see what you're saying with now. Now you actually know Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't follow New Japan as closely.
Yeah, I'd say 75 to 80% of AEW fans don't follow New Japan outside of when New Japan guys come to AEW.
But he's gonna be now joining.
But exactly, I see what you're saying. Yep.
Whether it was AEW or WWE, we now get to finally see him on television screens this year. And that's, I don't know, maybe he might go back-to-back on Breakout Star, but in this case, near the end point of 2023, he's making his name far more known again, whether he was beating Kenny Omega or beating Jericho at Wembley or beating Jericho, Kenny and Ibushi at Wrestle Dream. Like, again, his alliance that he's had with Don Callis, I mean, love or hate it, Will Ospreay is going to be far more a bigger threat than Takeshita.
Yeah, it's not how I see a Breakout Star, but I'm completely 100% on board with your logic. For me, my honorable mention is Swerve for everything Todd just said, but my Breakout Star was LA Knight.
Yeah.
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 A year ago.
Are you saying you know whose game it is?
Yeah. A year ago, we're wondering what's going to happen with LA Knight. Now he's probably the number 2 or 3 good guy in the whole company. And he's a top merch seller. He could conceivably be in a position where we could accept him beating Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And it not feel forced.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, it's. I'm feeling about LA Knight kind of similar to how I was feeling about Stone Cold Steve Austin in '97.
Like parallel.
It's maybe he's not the champion yet. Maybe it's not time right now. But the time is coming, and he's there, and it will happen. It will happen, and on some brand for some belt. Because I remember at the Saudi show, everybody's all mad, like, oh, why'd you have LA Knight's ruin? They had him lose. How dare you do that? It's like, Austin lost his first title match. It's fine. He's fine.
Yeah. And
keep
honestly,
letting it go.
If I could be completely blunt here, I wouldn't have wanted him to win in front of Saudi Arabia.
I don't love the Saudi. I don't love the Saudi shows, but there's a guy I talked to in the Salamonster live stream chat who lives in Saudi Arabia, and he's a really nice guy,
I'm sure he
and
is.
I like the fact that he gets to see wrestling. So if I can find any good in something, it's
Yeah.
that.
I can appreciate that. All right, next topic. What we got?
Tag team of the year.
Oh, FTR, easy.
Nope.
There's like nobody else.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, yes, there's Sammy and KO, but like I mentioned earlier, their tag team reign it fizzled out. It really did, and then
So did FTR's.
No, I disagree with that.
I think they fizzled out. I think that they were fizzling the whole year, in my opinion. And I say that as someone that FTR is my personal favorite tag team of this era.
Yeah, I think that now, yes, I wish they had done certain things differently, especially during the beginning after they won the titles back from the Guns. But there was the whole question of, are they going to leave AEW and go back to WWE? And they didn't. They're going to finish their careers at AEW, which I highly respect. Then they did the 2 Bullet Club matches back-to-back weeks. Then they did Wembley against the Bucks, which I really liked. They did the match at Wrestle Dream against Aussie Open, which a lot of people slept on because I think that was after Danielson, Zack Sabre. I think.
Yeah, I wasn't into that match. It's probably, maybe I would have been had it not been for what was before it, but. Yeah. For a huge FTR mark, the fact that I don't really remember that match is not good.
I remember that match, but it did good. And then they started off 2024 with a great match, and I was like, oh, but that's this year. Yes, I know, but still, I look forward to seeing what they do in 2024. But they were the tag team of 2023 for me because they had the matches to back it up.
All right, DC.
All right, so mine, I don't know, might be maybe a little bit cheating or so, but this is because of storytelling. The Bloodline.
Oh God!
Let's hear it.
Storytelling, because we saw the peak Bloodline by Royal Rumble, then Sammy, the chair shot heard around the world, and then of course like the Usos, representing Bloodline. They have their matchup at WrestleMania. And then we see Jimmy turn on Jay. And then we're starting to see, once again, maybe we're seeing another peak that we're trying to see with the Bloodline as well, with Jimmy, Solo, and Roman. So I think they've honestly been maintaining, their strength, minus the fact that we're probably going to be seeing another downfall come 2024. So, but again, storytelling is what captivates me on how you make yourself strong. So I didn't really watch much WWE this year, minus maybe a few matches on pay-per-view. But again, it's like if I'm paying attention to the storyline, I'm going to be a little intrigued, a lot more than the match.
All right, Eli?
That's fair. I mean, it's not how I feel, but I respect your logic. Mine is Sammy and KO. Because
I'm interested. I'm glad that we had 3 different tag teams. At least show that tag team wrestling still
because
alive.
To me, one, they were the first people to they're part of one half of the first tag team title match at WrestleMania. So that's that counts for something. I know a lot of people go like, well, that doesn't count because whatever. But to me, that does count for something. And to me, I'm going to say this: Todd may feel they fizzled out, but they have helped elevate a tag division that has been in the doldrum for 22 years. And they are...
I wouldn't go that far.
I think
22 years?
The last great year for tag team wrestling as a whole. Like when you can look and go like, wow, they have a good division in WWE. To me, it's like 2000. I'll maybe give a little leeway up to maybe 01 a little bit, but... I think the tag team division in WWE has been lacking since then. When they started the brand split, tag team wrestling took a hit, and with Vince didn't like tag team wrestling. So
shock.
Now that we're seeing, this was kind of like Triple H did like tag team wrestling, as we saw in NXT, and now we're starting to see kind of Triple H repair something that has been deep down in a hole for a long time. And Sami Zayn and KO were the catalyst that is beginning an improvement to where, in my opinion, the tag team division in WWE was outshining AEW's tag division at some point because of just how important they made those belts feel with WrestleMania, with big matches on pay-per-views, and now we're just seeing a much more depth in the tag team division in WWE. We're seeing much more depth. We're seeing storylines among tag teams that don't involve the titles in WWE, which is something that I always feel is very important for a strong tag division. And the catalyst and everything that put that in motion was Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
All right.
Next up, show of the year.
Wrestle Dream. As Eli knows, it was almost all in London because I love that show. And that's because of
you and 72,000 people in attendance.
Yeah, 72,000 plus 9,000 more. And so, like, I was
hey,
like,
here's my imaginary friend Jake.
Stop it! That show, all in London, top to bottom, I thought was a great show. One of the best shows I'd ever seen. In terms of viewing at home, obviously I was not in London. I wanted to be after that show, though. I was even asking some of my friends, not named Eli, hey, you guys want to go to London next year because we're going back? And I was like, everything about that night was special. But then Wrestle Dream happened, and that was the Let's Start hype show. Everyone's like, why are we doing Wrestle Dream? It's gonna be like a lesser forbidden door. And there were no duds on that card. There was not one bad match. And it only had one women's match too, with Chris Statlander versus Julia Hart. But I talked about that earlier. That match was so good that everyone thought that Julia might actually win because of how well it was handled. And then you had Swerve versus Hangman. You had Bryan Danielson versus Xavier Jr. You had a fatal four-way tag match, and you had, of course, Christian Cage versus Darby, which went 25 minutes plus the arrival of Adam Copeland, which was awesome. Crowd went nuts. And honestly, it was so good, and I told my friend Caro this, if he didn't show up, it wouldn't have ruined the show at all. That main event was so good.
Fair logic.
And it was just like, it didn't need it. But then they added him, like, okay, it was pretty nice, though. I mean, him coming out and saving Sting and Darby, and it was great. So that match, that night, top to bottom, was just about the wrestling. It was about honoring Inoki. And it was great, and I loved it. And I like to say, from my perspective, it doesn't matter how many people are in the stands. If you put on a good wrestling show and you display what you need to, they're going to regret not being there. And I bet you there's a lot of people who regret not being at Wrestle Dream because of how incredible that card was, top to bottom.
Isn't it funny that Darby has now been he's now appeared in, I guess, like 3 times where we had incredible over-the-top reactions of legends like debuting or coming to AEW.
He's like the best like cameo player. You know what I mean?
Hardy,
like
Adam Copeland.
Would you say he's the catalyst of legendary appearances?
Probably. I don't know.
Probably.
Literally,
Easy, what's your show of the year?
Yeah, let's keep going. Easy, what's your show of the year?
You guys really want to ask because it kind of appeared on my top 10 like a bunch of times.
Do tell.
AEW New Japan Forbidden Door.
Okay.
Like, I don't even need to go more about why that show was epic.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, so here's mine, and it's gonna piss at least one person off. Honorable mention first to Wrestle Dream. I thought it was a good show, really a great show even, but there was so many matches where I was in a lull after, and to me, when I judge a show, I judge like how did I feel through the whole show. Also Dominion from New Japan Pro Wrestling. My show of the year was SummerSlam because SummerSlam to me is like that CD you could put in that you won't skip. There's like one bad match and it was short. I could put on SummerSlam right now and watch the whole thing. That's how I judge an entire show of the year. If you have,
short match?
It was the Ronda Shayna Baszler match. It was like the only show that was bad. But like everything else, like is good. I could sit down right now and watch it. It is like the Kill 'Em All from Metallica, or the Offspring Splinter of my wrestling this year. I could put those CDs in my player, and I could just go, and I'm fine. And there wasn't anything that I would. There may be like if I skipped a song, it was short enough that it was over before I could think about it. Enjoyed everything, and to me, if you can make me enjoy a whole show and not just have me go like, okay, skip, watch, skip, watch, skip, watch. to me, that takes away from the show. This one didn't do that for me. So I'm going with SummerSlam.
Uh-huh. Next topic.
Promotion of the year, and I think we're pretty well good across the board. I think we have the same one. I know me and Todd have the same one, but I think well, what's yours?
Do we? Well, I just want to hear you guys.
Well, go Todd, go first.
Okay. Well, if my icon is not... okay, you can't see my icon, sorry. I still remember live, and I'm like, are they seeing my icon right now? No. It's AEW.
Yep.
It's, to me, and I know this will take a lot of people off, it's not even close. And I'm not saying this, I know, but here's the reason why. When I think of why a promotion is great, I think of why I want to tune in every single week, or I want to watch every single pay-per-view, or, there's like a special announcement. I have to tune in. Yes, Eli, I know Tony Khan has totally botched some of the announcements.
Let's fucking go!
Let's fucking go! But the reason I feel it's not even close is multiple reasons. First of all, and I'm going to address this out front, yes, 2023 was not a perfect year for AEW. World's End proved that. Oh my gosh. It was like, so the universe was trying to conspire against AEW that night. I won't even go into all the reasons why. But even when you take that out, and yes, there were other stumbles. I mentioned the beginning of FTR's second title reign. I thought they dragged that on too long. What happened with the TNT title before Christian Cage was bad, because that used to be like the title. Then it wasn't. Then Christian revitalized it. The women's division, I did not like what happened with Hikaru Shida becoming the 3-time champ, but 2 of her title reigns were both less than a month. That's not fair to Shida. Shida best. She deserve it. She deserve it. I like that, actually. I didn't mean to do that. That actually rolls out the tongue. Timeless Tony Storm. I get why they strapped that rocket to her. She's over. I get it, but I feel Shida deserves better, especially since she's one of the originals. But when I think of how they bounced back, and especially towards the end of the year with like the women's division, because now the women's division like this is this really great place with big returns, they're taking the bigger risks, and even though Athena's on Ring of Honor, I still do that part of AEW at times. Things were still great. They had by far one of the best stretches of pay-per-views around, between All In, All Out, which again was a week apart from each other, and then Wrestle Dream, and then Full Gear wasn't as good, and then World's End was, well, World's End. But even then, they throw in Forbidden Door. You throw in much of Double or Nothing, Revolution, which had Eli's match of the year with the Iron Man match. There was so much going right in it, and they made every single title feel special at least once, if not more, throughout the year. And that includes a guy by the name of Orange freaking Cassidy, who easily could have been the Wrestler of the Year for me because of how much he elevated that international title, which was, again, the All Atlantic title until it was international, and he was the guy. It was awesome. And then TK had hour-long tag team matches on Collision. Collision had a great start, even with Punky Brewster and everything that happened with him. They brought it every single week, making you see 20-minute matches, 30-minute matches, long men's matches, long women's matches. It was great. And then with the pay-per-views, so many memorable matches, so many wonders that were great. And then of course the Continental Classic to end the year. We're like, how are they gonna? Because remember, there's that gap between Full Gear and Revolution. Okay, we had World's End. It didn't turn out the best. I acknowledge that. But the Continental Classic from November to December was magical. No matter how you compare it to the G1, it was magical. And it was like, yes, this is wrestling. The feeling is back. I still don't feel that the feeling is back with WWE. Is it better? Yes. Is Triple H doing so much better with WWE? Yes. Do I feel they could have a great 2024? Yes. But they're still, in 2023, repeated so many of the same dang mistakes that it infuriates me when I see like people praising, and I don't mean Eli. I honestly don't mean Eli on this one, but like
no, be real. You mean it. You don't like people praising the WWE.
We've had good discussions about Roman and certain other things that you don't like about WWE, and I don't like WWE. But I see like so many other people saying like Roman's the best champion ever. He's barely on the show. When your world champ is barely on the show, and you have 1,000, you literally have like 1,000 cards saying Roman Reigns return. He had more Roman Reigns return cards than he had matches in 2023, and that's a fact. Look it up.
And funny, he made a giant ass promo about when Brock Lesnar was champion, he barely showed up.
Exactly. And it was like, oh, but, and then they're like, oh, but the storylines were cinema.
They were. I mean, I'm not
Good
gonna
for
say
you.
cinema, but I mean, they had good storylines. I mean,
Good
I
for
get what
you.
you're saying.
Yeah.
But
I get what you're
it's-
saying. We have the same answer. I'm just gonna,
Thank you.
I'm gonna
I
have
know,
the
but-
same answer, but I'm gonna like completely Monday morning quarterback, and it's gonna be like you won, but fuck, dude, this is
I know,
not good.
I know what you're gonna say, but I'll wrap it up.
Oh, I'm gonna go with even more.
I honestly didn't mean to go this long. I do apologize, but when I think about and I can't judge New Japan that much because obviously I don't watch it. But when I think of AEW versus WWE right now, I think of who has the more important titles right now. It's AEW. Who has the star power at the champion level that you want to watch every show because they're going to be on it. It's AEW. Who has pushed the younger talent to new heights or used the older talent wisely to elevate everyone else. It's AEW. Who has had the best matches of the year where consistently and potentially almost every week you watch it, you have to watch it because you're like, this is going to be a good match. There's bangers every week, or there could be one that you don't see coming. It is all elite wrestling. And to paraphrase Excalibur and one Mark Briscoe, AEW is the home of professional wrestling because that's what we effing do. Mic drop.
Catch his mic.
You can't see
No,
the
I
mic,
just
you
caught.
can't
No, I
catch
just
it.
caught the mic. It's right here in my hand.
No, I'm clearly holding it in my hand.
No, I'm clearly holding it. You see, it's all. I'm on camera holding a microphone right now.
Here, I will toss it to Easy so he can talk about his promotion of the year. Catch.
Yeah, because AEW, the streak is over on my end.
Oh, here we go.
And here's something to point out here. Did AEW have the better shows? Yes. Did AEW have the better roster? Yes. Do they have the better titles? Yes. There's just two things that they kind of fucked up this year, and that's why WWE had the edge on this. Women's division, which we know we have ranted so many times on how crap the booking is on the women's division, minus Julia Hart finally getting a TBS championship and all that fun stuff. But anyhow, and also, WWE had the better storytelling. Like, you may not have maybe the best matches of all, but the WWE matches that I put in there, they were on there because the storytelling was amazing. So, and again, I think like everything else, like behind the scenes, the WWE, they've been actually like trying to, they keep up building their brands and such. And, again, I may not have watched, content of Raw and SmackDown this year, but when you have great storytelling, that's when you're going to get all the people to watch your matches, whether they end in the way that they hope it would be or in controversial fashion. Because at least, when Geek was like talking about Cody and Brock, it's like, yes, that's storytelling. That's exactly why we'll watch these wrestling matches, because there's the capture emotion, whether we like it or not. I mean, unfortunately, Punky Brewster going back to WWE, hell freezing over, where he appeared at War Games, there's going to be crap loads of storytelling that the WWE know they can capture with that. So just by the skin of teeth here, WWE edged a little bit more better than AEW, in my opinion. Oh, and also one other dishonorable mention. Tony Khan, please stay the fuck off Twitter. That's a hot take. Because at least with Triple H, he knows the difference between being a businessman and being a fucking mark.
Yeah, this from the guy who helped his best friend make NXT Mania just to ruin Tony Khan's birthday. Yeah, great not marking. Great not marking, everybody.
Yeah, and then he's also the guy that when asked about Edge, gave a really nice answer of, hey, it was time and I wish him the best, instead of going, so, you know what just happened? There wasn't a million viewers. A big streak was broken. Yeah, well, that guy who just went to AEW also lost that streak too, but I digress. Because AEW...
And when Jade left for WWE, Tony Khan said, hey, that was her decision. I made her an offer. She didn't take it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
He didn't bash
But
her
Tony Khan gets on Twitter and then talks a lot of shit And then whenever there's like a minute of anything that comes back to come at Tony Khan AEW, everybody's like, why would they do such a thing? I cannot
And also what
believe
bugged me
this.
is, and I know there were so many people going after formerly known as Disco Inferno because he made some stupid comment, and then Tony Khan.
I will always bash
decided-
Disco Inferno and
Yeah,
get the
don't even
chance.
try that. Disco Inferno was a monster.
But it's just shut up.
Sometimes you gotta leave sleeping dogs lie. And I agree with EC, but mine was AEW, but it was like AEW didn't win it, WWE lost it. WWE could have won. I've used this comparison with Todd. WWE, just at WrestleMania, dropped a big touchdown in the end zone, and they played hard. They played well. AEW didn't play as hard and well as they normally do. And AEW won because they just took advantage of mistakes. They came by off the skin of their teeth because the butterfly effect that could have been improved with Cody beating Roman at WrestleMania could have put WWE on top. But that didn't happen. And AEW just barely got by, despite the fact that their storylines are more misses than hits. The storytelling is not good in AEW right now. I'll say it. It's not good.
I disagree with that, but okay.
I know you do. I know 90% of the internet does, but, you know, I'm not saying the things I'm supposed to say.
It's not about that, Eli.
I
I know that's why you think, but I will never stop you from saying what you say. Like that would be wrong of me.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you. I'm talking about the collective at large.
Good.
The collective at large is not you.
As large as my hair is, I'm glad that's it.
Where was I? The storytelling's not that good. You mentioned, like, oh, they're elevating all these young guys, and that's great, but I'm seeing I see a lot from AEW that is just like what I see in WWE. And I'm not saying that that's bad, but I'm also saying, like, hey, that'd be called out if it from WWE. Hey, this thing you did on Dynamite, if WWE would have done that, it wouldn't be okay. Hey, that storyline, this bad storyline just did, yeah, you'd shit on that if that were coming from WWE. Hey, how you hot potato, WWE hot potato this belt, or this guy didn't win or whatever. You'd be shitting on that if that were WWE. Like, that's kind of my gripe with AEW. I don't feel like AEW is special anymore. And I want more than just a great match is awesome, But I had a conversation with, Buddy Rivenblade. I said, when I look at the great memories I have of pro wrestling, I remember just as much from Mick Foley being funny, Stone Cold cursing out Vince McMahon, The Rock doing an interview, or The Undertaker being spooky, as I do Shawn Michaels, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, Bryan Danielson. Like, I remember that stuff as much as I do the matches sometimes. And at the beginning, AEW was doing that and doing it well. And they've kind of let that go. You used to have a great offense and a defense. Now you don't have a great defense. Your offense is fine, but you need that defense too. And I feel like right now, WWE, they're getting better, and AEW is not. They're still winning. They still won the game. This year, when this rivalry game is over, AEW has the bragging rights. But you got to change, or else they're going to get you next year. I'm not trying to trip. I'm, and I think it's very likely, unless they just make a giant just quarterback's not even, it wasn't, the receiver wasn't even in the area, miss like they did this year at WrestleMania. Which I'll even say is WrestleMania was good minus that. I enjoyed WrestleMania. Not show of the year, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Overall, I thought it was good, but again, I thought they played it too safe. With night two.
But that's kind of how I'm feeling. Like, I feel like Tony Khan's gotten a little too cocky for his britches, and definitely you're not in a position to be as arrogant as Tony Khan comes across and puts himself out to be. You're not in that position right now. Maybe in 2021 you could have been. In, part of 2022 you could have been. You can't be that arrogant. You got by on the skin of your teeth. Your competition is improving.
It is.
And I know you got your loyalists, and I know you got your people that are going to be there till death, and they're going to be going, we're real, we do wrestling, we're real wrestling, blah, 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 pound our chest for AEW, but you got to look bigger than that. You were looking bigger than that. It used to be when Tranquilo Club put out a 20-minute video about how great AEW was, I agreed with him. Now when he puts out a 20-minute video about how great AEW is, I think he's full of shit. Because I don't see anything special from AEW. I see... I feel hollow. Yeah. I feel hollow with AEW. And, I'm to the point now where I'm considering not buying pay-per-views. I don't watch Dynamite every week. Or, if I miss Dynamite, I'm like, okay, whatever. I've missed Collision several times, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, Collision.
That's also another thing why I've leaned with WWE is, I just kind of got, less interested with the shows, whether it's because I was either busy or just preoccupied, but it's also just, I don't know. Just something about,
I'm with me. In 2019, 2020, 2021... part of 2022, I never would have dreamed I'd been, if I would have missed a Dynamite, I'd have been, oh, damn it, fuck. Now I'm like, oh, I missed Dynamite. Okay. And you can get back to the dominant form. You can get there. You can still be top dog in this rivalry. But you gotta change. You gotta change, Tony. You've gotta change this. You've got to be more humble. You've got to work on your storylines. Not just but Adam Cole, you need more than just one good one. The Colts needed more than just Peyton Manning. Because when they lost him for a year, we saw how bad it could be. You got to come on.
Okay.
We talked about my Patriots, but I don't want to talk about it.
Well, I'm not trying to trigger you, EZ, but here's my... Here's the best comparison I could make.
With it.
No, this is another one. So, again, trigger warning to EZ. AEW was once Alabama.
I do not like that reference. How dare you try and roll Tide me? Big Ten for life.
Okay, so...
Roll Tide, bitch.
Hey, who beat the Michigan, bitch?
I really don't like Michigan, but I don't care about Alabama. But they were Alabama, where when everything that their fan base was saying about the team and we're the best and fuck you if you don't think so, I don't like doing that, but I get it. I don't like fans like that in any form, but I get it. Now, if an Alabama fan is going, fuck you, we're Bama, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't this year.
We got the playoff expansion next season, so...
Even you as an Alabama fan could go maybe we shouldn't be so arrogant. We lost twice. We're not in the national championship.
Especially since you needed a corrupt committee to get into the playoffs this year. Oh!
But that's AEW. Right now, they're what out. Right now, AEW is what Alabama is this year. They're still good. They're still very good. They're still one of the... You can talk about corrupt committees, but they're still one of the best. But you can't rest on that. And you can't think that just because you're the best that you're still the best. And you can't go around acting like arrogant people and can't stop the fans, but the fans shouldn't act as arrogant as they are, because you know what?
Well,
this isn't the old days. This isn't the old days. Competition's better, and you're getting worse. Yeah. So fix it.
Let me pull a twist here, and let me give the ways that WWE can beat AEW in 2024. I truly believe this. Number one, get the belt off Roman as fast as possible. I don't care if it's
big time.
I don't care if it's Mania or... Let's just say Mania, okay? He has to have it out by Mania, all right? This has gone bloody long enough.
And this is what I don't think they're going to do, because I think they're going to have him break Hogan.
And I hate it. And I hate it because, like, as much as I don't like Hogan nowadays, if we're talking about just the wrestler Hogan, he defended that title so many more times during that record-breaking run. It's nuts. And if they're like, I'm going to have one title match.
We still have another. We still have another thing. Just so we all know.
I know. I'll be really quick about this. Mm-hmm. Get the bell off of Roman. Okay. Keep elevating your new stars. Like that is something honestly, like the Creed brothers. Everybody loves the Creed brothers. Great tag team. Keep bringing up people like them and women like Zoe Stark, Ivy Nile, some people like them. Make more of your champions like Walter and Io Sky. And here's what I mean by that: frequent tag team title defenses, meaningful tag team title defenses. Like
I can say this. I honestly think they're doing that with Gunther right now. I honestly think
no. I said like.
Yeah. Okay.
Like mimicking.
Gotcha.
Like just in 2024, they just had a great women's title match at Team Io Sky and Mia Yim or Mishin or whatever they're calling her nowadays. That was great, and I love that. Good for them. Do more of that. Like Easy was talking about, they had a better women's division. Rhea has had numerous title matches that were less than 10 minutes, if not absolute squashes.
But Rhea's character is as big as anything else. Rhea could have been a wrestler of the year.
And I respect that her character is huge, but she should still be like this dominant wrestling force in a meaningful way, and not just I squash everyone, because she shouldn't be squashing some of these people. But that's beside the point. But then Io comes in and just has absolute bangers because that's how good she is, and she's got a great character too with Damage Control.
Yeah.
So, and they got a great storyline. There you go. So,
and honestly, with Rhea on how she is on Judgment Day, this is exactly what I wanted from Nikki Cross when Sanity was still a thing. So that's.
Yeah. I'm also saying, like, I don't want AEW to be just like WWE. I don't want WWE to just be like AEW because, damn it, you're supposed to have a difference. If Burger King tasted just like McDonald's, then what's the point of having either one of them? But if Burger King can do this right and McDonald's can do this right, hey, I'm splitting time when I eat fast food between the both of them.
One more thing. Don't keep having your main event be a variation of Judgment Day versus Cody, Sammy J, KO, and whoever else is their ally at the time. Spread the load, baby. You got 3 hours. You got a whole bunch of talent. Give the main event spot to other people. Okay, thank you. Bye. All right, what's our last
Wrestler of the Year?
Logan Paul.
Wrestler of the Year. This one's not even close for me either. It is Will Ospreay. It's Will Ospreay. To me, it's not even close for this simple reason. When you put this man into a match, he is going to excel. It does not matter what promotion he is in, whether it's New Japan, whether it's Noah, whether it's AEW. If he was in Ring of Honor for a match, which he wasn't, but if he was, he would do well. He'd do well there, or Impact Wrestling, or Rev Pro. If you put him in a match, he is going to excel, and that is exactly what he did in 2023. He has had the match of the year for many people, including the Sports Illustrated and PWIs and blah 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 blah. Sports Illustrated even tied the two Ospreay Kenny matches because they were that good in their eyes, which is really great credit, honestly. And he went around the world literally and had the best matches literally to show that he was the best wrestler in the world. And here's just some of the highlights: him versus Kenny. Twice. He went to Pro Wrestling Noah and had a banger with Marufuji. Marufuji? Is that how I say his name?
Naomichi Marufuji.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Marufuji, banger, 5 stars. He went to Impact Wrestling and he faced Josh Alexander, banger. He faced Mike Bailey, Speedball. That was Impact's match of the year as voted by the fans. All right. Then he went to Rev Pro, had an epic with Shingo Takagi. Those guys have faced 3 times, have never had less than a 5-star match, and that's pretty dope. Then when he's doing even 6-mans or tag teams, he's crushing it. And at All in London, well, it wasn't a 5-star match against Jericho. That was still a great match against Jericho. And seeing him in front of 81,000,
72,000,
and hearing, from Essex, England, and in the Union Jack style Assassin's Creed outfit was absolutely awesome. He is the best in the world. And I say, but what about Bryan Danielson? Yes, Danielson crushed it, but Ospreay did even more, and that says a lot. So yeah, he has absolutely elevated this wrestling industry, and I can't wait to see what he does in 2024. Which he's already had one banger match in 2024. So
If
we're
you
just
say
getting
so.
started, baby. What was that?
If you say so.
I say so.
Have you
and
seen
so
it?
There's a lot of other people. Yes, actually, I have.
It was okay. It wasn't a bad match. I didn't dislike it at all. But
that Assassin's Creed, that officially
but I'm gonna say, like, it wasn't. I didn't leave that card thinking of that. That's for damn sure. I didn't stay up and think, wow, and think about that match when it was over.
I mean, it was hard to top, the Naito roll call and Okada Danielson 2. There was a lot to love there, but he's already had a great start to 2024. He's about to go have another match with Okada, which will be a banger. Which I didn't even mention the G1 where he had epic matches against Okada and the Naito and more.
I say this in a nice way. You need to get a New Japan World subscription and actually go watch them.
I do, and I should. I absolutely should. I honestly just.
You need to actually, like, if you feel that strongly about it, that you're putting them on the list, you need to watch them, because that will only make you as a person that likes the guy happy.
Yeah, and I guess, and I did watch some of like the Mike Bailey match. They actually put that on YouTube. That was awesome. And I watched like the highlights of the Naito and Ospreay match on Twitter, because God bless the internet. But he went around the world proving himself time and time again, whether it was for a title or just for pride. He showed why he was a wrestler through and through. He beat the best. He fought the best. Beat the best more times than not. That's hard to top.
All right, easy.
Just to save the show from getting just too long here, is because this was truly the year of the scumbag, and that's MJF. Okay. He was a phenomenal world champ for AEW up until World's End. Some very incredible matches with just everybody. Whether we were still booing him like crazy at the beginning of the year to now, he's basically our champion scumbag for life until World's End. But this was definitely his year, and then we shall now see what the quote-unquote bidding war of 2024 will look like.
Okay.
If it's not already over, I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? So I have some honorable mentions because I think a lot of people deserve credit. I'll even give credit to Will Ospreay. I mean, I'll give him that credit. He did go to a lot of places. Respect. On that same vein, he didn't go to a lot of places, but I believe I don't know if it was just in WWE or the whole year. Cody Rhodes wrestled the most matches, at least WWE, and I don't know if it was the most matches of any wrestler, but it was pretty close. And when you're Cody Rhodes, you don't have to make the Podunk House shows as much, but he did. And respect, because there's a lot of people that don't do that. There's a lot of people that don't have to show up in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, that are big stars like that, but he did. He's doing the proverbial work still. Rhea Ripley, because I just love what she's doing with the character. She's such a presence. She reminds me like Chyna, but like as a better wrestler, and that deserves credit. Becky Lynch, she's the workhorse of the women's division still. Credit there. Orange Cassidy, elevating a belt that was a complete fucking joke. Once they renamed it and made it not a joke of a name, credit there to Orange Cassidy. Christian, for reinventing himself and having one of the, other than his TNA run, maybe the best run of his career. Credit there. MJF, carrying AEW during arguably the most turbulent year in the company's existence, carrying that belt, carrying that brand. Credit given where it's due. But conceding bias, because you heard my list, and conceding bias because he's one of my all-time favorites, I'm going Danielson.
Nothing wrong with that.
I look forward to Danielson every week. This is a personal list. I gave credit to everybody else that on every realm of possibility of how you look at wrestling. I gave you your flowers, including somebody who I don't personally care for, but I got to go Danielson.
I'm fine with that.
All right. That is it. We're at 3 hours.
Not bad.
Yep. So, Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Follow me on my social media pages, facebook.com/athleticgeek89, Twitter @athletic_geek89, and Instagram @athleticgeek89. Easy social media.
Twitter @ERIKZARINS.
Todd.
@Guardians_comic on Twitter.
All right. So for the Todd Black, for EZ, I am the Athletic Geek. We are just a bunch of fucking marks. And we're out. Have a happy new year.